one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that my four little children one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I know we may be familiar with this, but we want you to really listen to Dr. King. If you don't know, this is the 52nd anniversary weekend of the March on Washington.
I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious races, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Welcome to the Impact Media Social Action Summit, the very first of an annual summit that our organization plans to have. And we thank you so much for being with us and arriving early. We know this was an early day. There's a lot going on in LA today, so we appreciate you choosing to be here with us. My name is Kelly Redmond, and I'm the founder of Impact Media. This has been a labor of love for me. I have known since I was 12 that I was supposed to be in LA, live in LA. I wasn't quite sure to do what, but it was revealed over time. I've been concerned about how media and entertainment is used, and especially been concerned about how African Americans are portrayed in media and entertainment, and how we don't necessarily use the platforms in order to share our messages and to use it as a tool. And so that's why we started Impact Media. We launched 2 years ago on August 24th. It was my 45th birthday. And I know that it's not about me. It's about my mission, my ministry, the calling that God has on my life. And so I use that day as, the launch of the calling of my purpose and serving Him. And I encourage you as you are looking, because we know we all have a dream. And I encourage you to use whatever God has planted in you to really follow through on whatever it is that God has called you to do. This is evidence of me pouring in all of my time, all of my talent, all of my treasure into what I believe God called me to do. And I thank you for being here to support us. So to get everything started, first, Impact Media, our mission statement is to use media, entertainment, and technology for social change, collaborating to effectively or positively impact the African American community. We're focused on the African American community. We need to have a focus. We have to collaborate. We have to work together in order to affect change in our community. And we will remain focused on that mission. And so I'd like to bring up Reverend Murray. Reverend Murray has been supportive of me since I arrived in LA. And I'm currently in his Faith Leaders Institute, along with Reverend Jackson, who's here, who's our coach. And this is actually, I use this as my project for the fellowship. And Reverend Murray's going to lead us in prayer.
Thank you. Lord God, you have challenged us with diversity. Diversity without adversity. The generation before ours sang, plenty good room, plenty good room, plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, just choose your seat and sit down. That was and is the ideal. The reality, of course, perhaps is on the other side. The adversity of diversity. I will say yes to you if you are my color. Yes, if you are my class. Yes, if you are my educational level. Yes, if you're of my ethnicity. Otherwise, it's no. How we refuse to hear your servant Paul say, God has made us all equal. We choose inequality. But there is hope, because even Paul had to grow to a given point of diversity. He writes to the church at Colossae, women ought to be quiet in church. If you have any questions, you should ask your husbands. He writes to the church at Corinthians, wives ought to be subservient to their husbands, even as their husbands are to Jesus Christ. But he finally comes to his senses, and he writes to the church at Galatia, God has made us all equal in God. There is neither master nor slave, neither male nor female. And the oldest people on earth, out of Africa, have the system of Ubuntu, the philosophy of Ubuntu, because you are, I am, and because I am, you are. Let everyone here say, we are family. We are family. And we thank you for your poet who says, all the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Thank you for our stage managers, Kelly Redmond. Thank you for the assistance she gets from Ramsey. Thank you for every life here beneath your roof, here to make room, here to sing and to pray and to ask, give me room, make more room, Lord, in my heart for thee. And as we find that space, make that space, or that space, we should give you the praise forever and ever. Let us all say amen. Amen. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stacy Lewis. I am the intern for Impact Media, and I'd like to again officially welcome you all to our summit today. We have been working so hard this summer, so we're very happy that everyone here has been able to make it. But just before we get started, I would like to welcome our host for today, Mr. Ramsey J. Jr. Ramsey is a Wall Street trained financial executive specializing in a wide range of areas at a global alternative investment management firm. His work has led him to receiving several mentions and awards, including UCLA's Riordan's Program Inaugural Excellence in Civil Engagement and Leadership Award. He was also named one of the top 30 young leaders under 30, and he is a highly sought-after keynote speaker, and so we are honored to have him here hosting our event today. So without further ado, please welcome our host, Mr. Ramsey J. Jr.
Let me first say good morning. Good morning. Let's try again. Let me say good morning. Good morning. We're almost ready now to good morning, so let's say it again. Good morning. Good morning. I am beyond honored and blessed to be able to stand before you this morning, and I have no doubt that something extraordinary will happen here today over the next several hours. I want to pay much respect to Kelly Redmond for her vision as being the founder of this wonderful organization. I want to congratulate you in advance for a successful summit, even though it has just begun. I know success is in the air. I want to pay respect to the dear Reverend Murray. I call him my friend, and for those that don't know, every chance that we have to sit amongst greatness, We should never take it for granted, dear sir. I do not take this morning for granted. Your words and your remarks always stand as a blessing to all those who have a chance to touch your life. So thank you for continuing to give above and beyond, sir. We honor and salute you. It was interesting to think about as we set the context and we set the mood. Let me take you back to the day when approximately, the record says, more than 2,000 chartered buses descended. The record says that more than 21 chartered trains descended. The record says more than 10 commercial airlines descended. The record says more cars than you could count and more traditional means of public transportation than you can count, all descended on this nation's capital of Washington, D.C. The record will tell you that they approximately counted 250,000 citizens of these United States gathered there on that mall in Washington. The record will also tell you that the majority of those that gathered were African Americans. The record will further tell you that they were gathered there to advance civil liberties and economic rights for African Americans. The record will tell you that it was 52 years ago yesterday that they gathered and heard a young man who they call the great drum major of justice gather to pronounce 4 simple words that resonate today as strong as they did 52 years ago yesterday. It was August the 28th, 1963, that they gathered for the March on Washington. Let the record reflect that today we gather on August the 29th, 2015. They said that those that organized that great march that day were leaders from the faith-based community. They said they were leaders in education. They said they were youth champions. They were scholars, they said. They were business leaders, they said. I want you to remember, today you are gathered amongst faith-based leaders, amongst civic leaders, amongst leaders in education, amongst leaders in business. Allow the record to reflect. Today we came by car, some may came by bus, some may have come by train, but they came and they gathered to advance campaigns to further what was started 52 years ago yesterday. Let the record reflect, although there may not be 250,000 here today, there are 250,000 shoulders that we stand on today and continue the great work that was started by those that came before us. Some of us were there on that day. Some of us were not there on that day. But on this day, we are all here to stand on one accord to continue the great campaign of advancing causes of African Americans today, tomorrow, and forever. He said but 4 simple words: I have a dream. Today, I hope that we have a dream. They often ask the question, how do you go about making the dream a reality? I share 3 words that I hope govern today's summit. I think that young drum major of justice stood up there and said, I believe it is possible. I believe it is possible, Reverend Murray. But he didn't stop there. He said, but we must work extraordinarily hard to make it probable. And he worked, and they worked, to make it probable. Today, I hope that we gather and we believe that it is possible too. And today, I hope we gather and we are here to work to make it probable. And last, if you check the record, they were preparing for the 3rd P, the predictable opportunity to advance their campaign, not knowing when or how or who would be their door to the pathway of tomorrow, but prepared nonetheless they did. and the door of opportunity opened thereafter. But had they waited to get prepared to, it was too late. They would have missed the opportunity. Let us gather today and believe that it is indeed possible. Work extraordinarily hard to make it probable, and prepare for our predictable opportunity to make a breakthrough for those coming after us, inspired by those who came before us. Lastly, I will submit. Although there may only be 200 gathered today, I will tell you that no movement starts without the power of one. For if one is in the room and so moved, he or she can't help but to go home and tell another, and that gives you two. And if those two are so moved, they can't help but to tell one more person each, and now we have 4. And if you repeat that exercise and one more person does that 9 times over, 4 gets you 8, 8 telling 1 gets you 16, 16 telling 1 gets you 32, 32 telling 1 gets you 64. They do one more, that's 128. They tell one more, that's 256. They tell one more, it's 512. And if they tell one more, that's 1,024 great people. So when I talk in a room that may not have 250,000, I believe it has more than that in it. And if that's the spirit with which we come today, then I will submit today will have a ripple effect that can't help but be felt, not just around Los Angeles, but around this great country. And I dare say if it's felt around this country, then it must be felt around this great world. That is the spirit with which I've come to host today. I hope that's the spirit with which you've come to this inaugural Impact Media Social Action Summit. With that, I say good morning. Good morning. Our founder said I don't have to introduce her, but as the host, I will. And I think I'll take a moment and maybe just say some things that aren't in the bio, because that's not always the story that you need to know about the individual. But anybody here probably knows, if you have received emails that have timestamps that make you wonder, are you serious? Yes. Voicemails that, are you serious? I say again, yes. Someone who has put her heart into something that she believes in, coming here with a vision. I think it's more than just a thank you that we owe you. I think it's something that they say when there's someone who's obedient to the call in their life. You stand and you say that I too need to walk in obedience. So rather than tell you all the wonderful accolades, her corporate career and being one of the top 30 under 30, which she was, and all the wonderful she's continuing to do, I think I'll simply say that I'd like to take a moment and introduce our founder, and more importantly, honor her obedience to the call that is on her life, that has created an opportunity for us to gather at the inaugural summit. And I don't have any problem saying that you can't start something without someone that's your spark. And I want to thank our spark this morning, our founder, Kelly Redmond.
Thank you. I'm going to try to get through today without crying. If we could have everyone move close to the front. You're amongst family. We're all family here. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And today was an opportunity for me to actually gather some of my favorite people and people who have touched me over the course of my life through either their programming in the industry or some even personal relationships as well. And this is an opportunity to showcase who we know are lights in dark places. And one of the goals of Impact Media is to really shine the light on the positive, because we know we have a culture that celebrates the negative and a complaining kind of spirit. But we're here today, and part of our focus with Impact Media and our Positive Impact campaign is to shine the light on positivity, to shine the light on those who are living for God and doing God's will and using their platforms for change, social change, systemic change, as well as building the kingdom of God. So we need you to move closer. We need to fill up all of these rows. For a change, we've had multiple events over the years and we have not had it documented. We've got lots of documentation, but we need everybody to come in. So if you could, please stand up and move forward, fill in some of these seats in the front, and then we will, as you're doing that, we will begin the next phase of our program. in honor of that, shining the light, on positivity, we're starting with an entertainment showcase, positive programming that has touched us all. We have a young lady who is really the impetus behind Impact Media and the Positive Impact Campaign, my daughter Jada Henry, who at a very early age, we kind of saw something, in her. Although she was a little more outgoing when she was smaller, and then as she grew up, she turned a little shy, but I never wanted to push anything on her. But she came to me at around the age of 8 and said this is what she wanted to do. She wanted to be in entertainment. She wanted to be an actress, and she believes she has jokes, although I'm usually the butt of the joke. So, the mother, the comedian, as always, you gotta be careful. But today she's going to share a piece that she's written. We're gonna have Kathy Westfield, who is a Christian comedian, who I've seen at events, and she has been supportive of me whenever I've asked her to come out and support, whether it was my organization or others' organizations, and she's amazing. And then Love So Deep, what can I say about Patricia and her cast from Love So Deep? Just an amazing, we need to have more programs like this. We need to have them on a bigger stage, but we wanted to incorporate it into our program today to continue to spread the word. So with that, we'll just jump right into the entertainment showcase, and we'll kind of move the program along and try to make up some of the time that we lost earlier in the morning. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Jada Elise Henry. She is a freshman at Grand Arts High School. She has written this piece called Our Breath Matters as a part. She was in Amazing Grace Conservatory this summer, and she surprised me by performing this incredible piece at the final showcase. And it really sets the tone for what we're doing here today, because this is not an event. We're not here to just gather and talk. And education is important, but this is a process. This is a part of something bigger, something more long-term. We have to come together to support one another. We've already started a social action planning process. Many of you in the room are involved, and there's some of you who wanted to be involved and haven't had a chance to be involved just yet. But we are coming together to see how we can use this platform to affect change in our community. We're coming together about how we can really build and generate wealth in our community and support each other and recycle our black dollars so that we can have a more powerful economic and political base. So it's really bigger and broader than just having black people, African American people on camera. It's much bigger than that. And so we thank you for your commitment and your interest and your participation. So with that, Jada is going to come up and share her piece, Our Breath Matters.
All right.
Breathe in, breathe out. Inhale, exhale. Heart beating at a steady rate, blood running through our veins. Everyone deserves this. Everyone deserves a chance in life. And everyone deserves a chance to change the world. Why should we be defined by a skin color or hair? That's not what God wanted. Although we all come from different backgrounds, and although we are all different, we're all part of the same race, the human race. And I believe that we can win this race together, as a team, as a family, and as God's children. Our breath matters. Thank you.
Give it up for Jada Henry. She is 13 years old and wrote that poem on her way to being 14 in a couple weeks, but she just blew me away, and she demonstrated why she is the spokesperson for the team spokesperson for the Positive Impact Campaign. At this time, I'd like to bring up Kathy Westfield. Did Kathy just step out? Come on, Kathy. We're going to be short on introductions to move things along, but as I mentioned earlier, Kathy is an amazing, amazing comedian. She has her MDiv from Fuller as well, so she is, in the kingdom and working for the kingdom and using her platform for change. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Give it up for Kelly. Give it up for Kelly. Good morning. Good morning. I shall make a correction. I don't have my MDiv. I have a master's in theology and ministry. So just to correct that. That I am, people are like, you have your master's and you're doing comedy? Well, you share God's word the way that you can. You know what I'm saying? I tell people, come on, come to church. They don't come to church. I tell them, come see some comedy. They will come and see some comedy. And then I can share God's word with them once I get them there. Do you know what I'm saying? But have you ever noticed how God will get your attention when you least expect it? When you least expect it. I'm driving down the street the other day. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a rush. I get behind this car that's going too slow. So, of course, I start tailgating him, right? I'm tailgating him. I'm trying to get where I'm going, and we get stopped at a signal or a red light. So I'm really frustrated then. So as I'm sitting there looking, I look at his bumper, and he has a sticker that says, "Are you following Jesus?" that close. I said, okay, Lord, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, I hear you. Yeah, but I believe laughter is God's alternative to self-medication. I really do. I really do. I do, because without laughter, I'm sure I would have been locked up somewhere by now. Because it has been the source of my healing. Because life ain't easy. And you got to laugh at yourself, Because I grew up right here in Los Angeles. In fact, I grew up on Florence and Normandy. That's where I grew up, one of 7 children. We didn't have a lot. I used to think we were poor. I know now we were blessed. Because God equipped my mother to do all kind of things with 7 kids, and my father, I mean, she was the type of woman, she could stretch $1. You know what I'm talking about? She go into the grocery store, she wouldn't buy anything unless she could use that empty container afterwards. Come on now, I'm telling the truth. When she bought that can of Folgers coffee, she didn't buy it for the taste. She bought it for that can, right? Because what she put in that can, grease, that's my southern brother right there, grease. Some kind of grease was going in that can, wasn't it? And the fish grease, bacon grease, hair grease, some kind of grease was going in that can, okay? And everybody used that margarine, that little plastic container. What was that? Tupperware. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about? Those empty peanut butter and jelly jars, those were Kool-Aid glasses. Those were Kool-Aid glasses. You just work your way around that little rim so you didn't bump your teeth. Those were Kool-Aid glasses. My mother would not throw anything out, though. I remember I fell down, I cut a hold of my favorite jeans. I was too upset. She ran in there, got the scissors, cut them off, rolled them up, honey. Those are shit about, girl, those are Bermudas. They started out as bell bottoms. Then they were Bermudas. Then they were shorts. Then they were hot pants. Then they were Daisy Dukes. What y'all know about Daisy Dukes? Come on now. End up being a dust rag. She would not throw anything out. She would not throw anything out. And kids these days wouldn't put up with that, would they? I have 2 kids, and I have 2 sons, and they want everything under the sun. Kids are very demanding these days. They have a sense of entitlement. You know what I'm saying? Started out when they were little with all these electronic devices. First they wanted the Game Boy. Then they wanted Nintendo. Then they wanted an Xbox. Now they want an iPad. I said, I ain't got no money for no iPad. I just went and put the knobs off their Etch-a-Sketch. Got no money for no iPad. And my son, he wants, these $200 tennis shoes. And I'm telling him, you ain't getting them, okay? You ain't $200 tennis shoes. He said, why not? I said, I'm looking out for your best interest. What you talking about? I said, ain't nobody gonna try to kill you over these shoes from Payless. Michael Jordan didn't have Air Jordans and he made it, so can you. Come on now. Come on, you know what I'm talking about? No, the kids are demanding, and we give them too much. We really do. I'm at the grocery store the other day. This little boy gonna kick his mother because she wouldn't buy him any candy. And at the checkout stand, she gonna give him time out. I'm thinking to myself, lady, why are you gonna give him time to figure out what he gonna do to you next? Because my mother did not have time for time out. She picked up the first thing laying around. You know what I'm talking about? A shoe, a belt, a telephone cord. Kids today ought to thank God today's phones are cordless. I'm talking about, amen, yeah. I pray about my kids all the time. But have you ever prayed about something and wondered why God didn't answer your prayer? Oh, just me. Just come on now, come on. When I was was younger, you know, I prayed about this man, never understood why God never put us together. And the reason is because I have always had some bad taste when it comes to choosing a mate. Okay? Come on, let's be real. I looked around, I'm sure I ain't by myself. Come on. Don't look to your neighbor. Don't look to your neighbor. Okay? No, I've had some bad taste when it comes to choosing a mate. My worst relationship was physically abusive. And a lot of people say, Kathy, why do you talk about that on stage? I say, because it needs to be discussed. You know, because a lot of people don't think black women get abused. Oh, we do. Mm-hmm. It's just that very few men have lived to tell about it. Now, I ain't promoting violence. Don't go out and say, Kathy's promoting violence. That ain't what I'm doing. I'm just telling y'all the truth. Okay? But I've learned to trust God and not second guess him. Do you know what I'm talking about? When he had that inner voice, listen to that voice. He gives it to us for a reason. You know, I have to say, how am I going to understand all the great plans God has for me? You know what I'm saying? When I can't even understand the simple things in life. Like, ladies, when you do laundry, what happens to that other sock? Is there like a sock heaven? One is taken and one is left. Come on, now, what happens to that other sock? You know, when you have something on your mind, why do you have to get it off your chest? I just don't understand it. If it's a penny for your thoughts, why do people keep giving you their 2 cents? When you have a cold and you give it to somebody, why do you still have it? Why is it you buy 10 hot dogs, you only get 8 buns? You always got those 2 hot dogs left over the kids don't want to eat because they don't want to eat it on bread. You know? I'm too excited the other day. I get in the store, 10 buns in the package. I grabbed the buns, grabbed the hot dogs, got home, only 8 hot dogs in the package now. I don't understand it. You know, ladies, when we put on mascara, why do we open up our mouth? I don't understand it. Don't understand it. And something I've really never understood is why do they put Braille on drive-up ATMs? On the driver's side. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And why do people ask you silly questions? Like, if you won the lotto, would you quit your job? I'm thinking I'd quit if I knew I could get unemployment. Come on now. You know, I'm going through the airport the other day. I get stopped at security because I set off the alarm. You know what I'm talking about? So I got to get patted down. So, you know, the TSA agent just pat me down. So she has to ask me some questions first. She said, do you have a hip implant? I'm like, lady, do I look like I have a hip implant? Come on now. Do you have a pacemaker? I said, no, I don't. She said, do you have breast implants? I said, like I'd get this size. Come on, lady, let's be real. Let's just be real, okay? You're asking me silly questions. You know, and these commercials nowadays, I don't understand a lot of these commercials. You know, they're trying to sell us stuff. The one that I really don't understand are these pharmaceutical companies that are trying to tell us to tell our doctors what to prescribe. You know, I'm like, who went to medical school, him or me? You know, feeling a little moody? Ask your doctor for Paxil. Right? Then they tell those side effects. May cause bloating, blotchy skin, hormonal changes, and hair loss. I'm thinking to myself, I start out this thin little moody black woman, I end up a bald, overweight white guy. I'm not taking all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm not taking all that stuff. I just don't understand. I don't understand. And something that's really boggled my mind over the years is racism. Why is racism still alive and well in this day and age? I just don't understand it. I do not understand it. And I mean, I was exposed to it early, you know, at an early age, like most of us. Although I grew up on Florence and Normandy, when I was 12 years old, my dad moved us to Beaverton, Oregon. Yeah, exactly. Everybody said, ooh, wow, that was a change, wasn't it? Yeah, we were the only black family in the neighborhood. We were the only black children in the entire school. You know, and I didn't realize that was any different from anyone else coming from Los Angeles, being the melting pot that it was, until I got to Oregon. And I'm in the grocery store one day, and a little girl says to her mother, she says, oh, look, Mommy, a chocolate lady. You know, just being 12, I'm looking around for that lady giving out chocolate. Where's that chocolate lady? I'm the chocolate lady. I was too upset Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But everybody wasn't as kind with the words they chose to use, you know? So I started thinking everybody was prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? I had an attitude. Let me tell you, a friend happened to invite me over her house. She was Caucasian, one of the few friends I made initially. She invited me over her house, and I was like, does your mother know I'm coming to your house? She said, oh, yes, Kathy, she knows you're coming. I'm thinking, she knows Kathy's coming. Does she know I'm coming? You know what I'm saying? Be like, guess who's coming to dinner? You know, once I got there. So once we got over there, I could tell her mother was a little uneasy. She gonna pull her off into the other room and start whispering. So I put my ear up to the door to hear what she was saying, and all I could hear her say was, how many times have I told you that whites and coloreds don't belong together? Oh, I was so upset, I went and pushed open that door. That's when I realized they were just doing laundry. Okay, you ain't prejudiced this time. But I realized I had become just like they were. Do you know, I had become just like them. You know, I was judging people by the color of their skin and still the content of their character. You know? And now, you know, it used to really get me upset when I had to deal with racism and prejudice. It would just make me so mad. But now I use it as a vehicle to share. Do you know what I'm saying? And plus, I look at it this way, honey, it's just more material. You get crazy with me, you're going to end up in my act. You know what I'm saying? Because I stepped into the elevator just the other day, this little white lady going to clutch her handbag on me. Like I'm going to drop my purse to snatch hers. I said, honey, you got vinyl, I got Coach. I don't want your purse. You know, why would I go to jail behind some old Kleenex and some Sweet and Low? Because that's all that's in the old lady's purse, some old Kleenex or whatever she didn't lift it from Denny's the week before. You know what I'm saying? No. And then my girlfriend told me, well, Kathy, aren't some stereotypes true? I said, like what? She said, black people are always late. I said, that ain't true, that ain't true. I said, listen, look at it this way. If black people were always late, don't you think we would have missed that boat? We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. But you know who some of the most prejudiced people are? Black folks to each other. And how do I know? I grew up with it. Okay, my mom is very fair-skinned. She looked like she's white. Okay, my dad is brown-skinned like me. So the seven of us were an array of colors. I have one sister with blonde hair and green eyes. But one of the things that we did was when we used to get mad at each other, we wouldn't attack our European features. We would only attack our Afrocentric features. You know, so the one with green eyes and blonde hair, she had fuller lips, so we called her Big Lips. Okay, and then I have a younger sister who was fair-skinned. She had the keen features, but she had coarser hair. She was a baby, so we said the good hair had run out. We called her nappy hair. Okay, and then it was me. I had the keen features and the so-called good hair, but I got the darker skin, so they called me Blackie. And for a long time, that hurt so much. That hurt so much until we got older. I'm one of the older ones, but when people see us together, they're like, oh, you're the baby, right? I said, yeah, I'm the baby, because see, black don't crack. I'm the baby, okay? But it's unfortunate we have that in this day and age. Wouldn't it be nice if we were more like Jesus, if we didn't look at people's outer parts, but what was in their hearts? You know, I pray about it. I continue to pray about it. I continue to pray about it. That I'm wrapping up. I know we have a lot of other people coming up, but I'll just tell you a little bit about what's going on with me now, and then I'll wrap it up. I have my two children and married, and I remember telling my husband, I said, you know, I'm not every woman. I don't care what that song says. You know what I'm saying? I can't do it all. You know what I'm saying? Because it's difficult, you know, being married, first of all, especially when you're trying to do it by yourself. You know, I need a partner. That's what two are supposed to come together as one. You know, who missed the point? You know what I'm saying? I said, I am tired, you know. I cannot, work, do my comedy, be your wife, your mother, and your lover. I have to be civil to have all them personalities. I need some help. You know what I'm saying? I need some help. So, I would tell him all the time. I said, these kids are, it's a bit much for them, because you put them off into their room after a long day. You go off into your room, try to get some time together. What's the first thing you hear, ladies? Mommy. There you go. Who said it? Mommy. Daddy said first word you never hear it again in life. It's mommy, right? Mommy, 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 mommy. Mommy, 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 mommy. I keep going. You ignore them, then they start knocking, right? I'm thirsty. I need some water. Now I'm hungry. I want a cookie. My finger hungry. I need a Band-Aid. I got a tea. I need to go to the bathroom. Now I'm cold. I want a blanket. I'm scared. I want the lighter. I want to sleep with you. What you doing? So I've been divorced now for about 12 years. Let me tell you, it's difficult being back single, okay? It is difficult being single, especially at my age. You know, I'm not over the hill, but I ain't no spring chicken anymore either. Because men my age want 25-year-olds. You know, they don't want me. They want, you know, some young chick or whatever, I don't know, but they don't want me. And it's gotten to the point that I realize there's only 3 type of men that are really interested in me at this point in my life. And can I be real? Yeah. Okay, and I'm not being judgmental, I'm just being real. Okay, I'm just laying the ground, okay? The 3 type of men that are interested in me are old men, ugly men, or ugly old men. So ladies, all I can say is ugly men are looking better by the day. Because when you think about it, it ain't what's on the outside that counts, is what's on the inside, right? Besides, I've already had my kids. Oh, come on now. You know what I'm talking about. When we were younger, we tried to look for a good-looking mate because we don't want no ugly little kids. You know what I'm talking about? Come on, let's be real. Let's be real. Now, old men, I ain't got there yet. Old men, I ain't got there yet. Now, I had this one man, and I'm not exaggerating. He tried to talk to me. He was 92. 92. When does it stop? You know what I'm saying? 92. Come on. I'm like, honey, at some point, the only one you should be looking to meet is your maker. Come on, 92. Come on now. Then I had this other man recently. He had to be at least 20 years older than me. Come on. Girl. If I'd have got hold of you when I was 25, I said you'd have been in jail. Then he came down there, why won't you date me? Why won't you date me? I said, well, first of all, I only date believers. He said, well, I believe I can have you. I said, no, you have to believe in God. He said, God. I said, yeah, God. Do you know God? He said, well, no, not really, but, I mean, you tell me about it. I said, well, you know, it's pretty simple. Let's see. Well, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Because, see, God is love. I said, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. It is a gift from God. Faith is the reality of what is hoped for, the proof of what is unseen. But we walk by faith, not by sight. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. It is written that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. I said, so do not love the world or anything in the world. For anyone who loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. What good would it be for a man to gain the world yet forfeit his soul? Do not build treasures here on earth where moth and rust destroy and thieves break in and steal, but build treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and thieves do not break in and steal. Because where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. But seek ye first, see? Reverend Murray was supposed to be sitting right here to have my back. He can have my back. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. But with man this is impossible. But with God all things are possible. So put on the full armor of God, that ye may be able to stand up against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God goes with you. I said, he will never leave you nor forsake you. And if God be with you, who can be against you? So trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not upon your own understanding, and always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. I looked away from him and looked back. That man was gone. You know? You guys have been a great audience. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Today it's a process. As I said, this is not an event, and this is an opportunity for us to come together. Our focus is solutions. We're not here to come and talk and complain about the problem. We are action oriented. We are here. We are we are working towards the solutions, and we have partnerships and collaborations already in effect. So those of you who are new, we invite you to be a part, of the movement, to get involved. This is very much an opportunity for you to be engaged, not just, a passive observer. So we invite you to be involved. We also encourage you today, use the platforms of media, social media, to get the word out. Share what's going on today. Take pictures, videos, post them. We've got Periscope now, which is amazing, and we can broadcast live right here on the spot. So, let's make sure that we kind of get the word out, showcase, this good, positive talent throughout. So thank you so much.
In 1967, we created the Image Awards because we were not honoring ourselves in front of the camera and also behind the camera. So that is something that we are passionate about, and working with these other organizations to ensure that we are reflected in a positive way. And I also thought that the video that you showed at the beginning was extremely important, because propaganda is a major problem, and our kids don't even understand what they are participating in. We watch over 200 hours of television per month. That's a lot, and that's based on Nielsen's, their numbers. So we need to figure out if we are watching that much television, we have to control and help them understand the images that they're seeing, and also put out more positive images, so that when they are watching themselves or watching television, they're seeing something positive coming back at them.
And Impact Media did a survey as well. What the industry wants to say is, well, this is what you want, this is what you're watching, but we don't have options. And so we're advocating for more balanced options. And we know that if we put something out with African Americans, we are going to watch it. But our survey and our data shows that we definitely want more of it. We need it, and we can validate it, and we plan to make the business case for it. And now I'm going to pass it on to India.
Well, I just wanted to speak to that because as a buyer on the network side, I have a lot of friends who work at various networks. I've worked to BET to TV One and now OWN, and I'm blessed to be at a place where the entire mission is about positive programming, and especially for African Americans. One of the nights that I program is Saturday night, and our average age viewer is 40 to 50 are African American women. That's who comes to watch the network. But what I will say is, networks put on what people watch. And so if we're watching Love and Hip Hop, but we want to talk about it, networks are going to say, well, if you're going to watch it, I'm going to do more of that. That is what they do. If you don't watch it, they will not put it on. I've been at various networks where we put positive programming on. We put really good, great programming, and nobody came to watch. So let's just be real honest about who we are, where we are, and what we're trying to do. We get to set the stage. We get to have an opportunity to put that message out of what really is it that we want to be entertained by. I know for a fact, I've been on the other end where I've been in meetings where we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we make this engaging? How do we make it entertaining? My competition is Love and Hip Hop. I'm never going to do that. What do? So I find shows with positive families that have real journeys and stakes and engagement that allows people to want to take that journey with them. But on the flip of that, when I'm in meetings with other executives and they're saying, well, we're trying to figure that out, but when we go a little too soft, the ratings drop. So what I want to say is that even with that, we have a responsibility to change the dynamic of how we think about ourselves. We have to take some ownership in that, how we educate our children, because the bottom line is, yes, we are a village and the networks and the medias are villages, but our children watch us. We're the first line of defense. And so if my children are seeing something and they know that this doesn't reflect what's happening in the home, it's going to make them question and think. But if they're considering looking at what's on network and then I'm perpetuating that, well, then they don't know the difference. What was so great about the 50s and the 60s is, regardless of what people were saying about us, they had examples of people who were doing something different. So it starts with us.
Thank you, India. And I'd like Christine and Dawn to talk a little bit about how they're using their platforms for social change and building the kingdom of God.
All right. Okay, I'm going to first apologize because it's likely that I won't be able to stay for the entire panel because I have another event this afternoon. But all that to say, hold on, will this read?
No. Okay, all that to say that the reality is this conversation is not a new conversation. Media, information is power. I'm fine. Information is power, period. Whether it started with the tribal or village griot who held the history of the tribe, of the nation, and shared it with the generations to come so that the history and the information did not die, to Benjamin Banneker, Benjamin Franklin starting pamphlets of patriotism and freedom and information. And once the information recognized that now we have the power to make a difference, to make a change. Where we are now, from my perspective, all of this immediate gratification, we are now mistaking our power for entertainment. And we are failing to recognize that we don't have to create anything new. We don't have to do anything new. We just have to recognize that we now have immediate access to our power and to our connectivity to make the things happen that we want to see happen. We don't have to wait for anyone else to do it. We don't have to wait for some magic potion. We don't need permission. We have the power right now in our hands. We don't have to seek any further marketing. We don't have to seek any further financing. We just need to do it and claim it and be honest about what it is we want to do and what it is that we want to achieve, and stop passing the buck and waiting for someone else to make it happen and just do it. A different world was no magic potion. We were taking and putting on screen real life stories, and we couched it in entertainment because we know that that's how the majority of people receive it. And what we recognize is that it did not just resonate with people of color, it did not just resonate with college-bound students, it resonated with humanity. And that show touched and crossed barriers, it crossed social groups, it crossed economic groups, it crossed generational groups, it crossed cultural groups, because it was truth. It spoke truth. And truth touches people, and truth encourages people toward their power, which is why it wasn't just African Americans who decided to go back to college. It was whites, blacks, Latinos, Asians. It was people coming back from the military. It was people who were adults who had given up on themselves but now found encouragement. It was humanity. And that's the phenomenon of a show like that. And that's the opportunity that we have to create more opportunities like that. One of the things I'm doing now, when you talk about using your power, and there are a couple of people in the room who can attest to this, is that I recognize the phenomenon that is that particular experience that I was fortunate and honored to be a part of. one of the things that I want to do is, while we still have a voice, while we still generate influence, which by the grace of God we still do, that was 28 years ago that we shot that show. And the fact that it's still on television now, the fact that it's still resonating the way that it did back then now, what I'm doing is I do a lot of motivational speaking. I do master classes around the country, and there are a couple of other people in the cast who do the same as well. What I did was approach my other cast members and ask them, would you be willing to quote unquote take this show on the road and use the platform that we have as the cast of a different world, as the power that our images have, to speak into the lives, to use this while we have this, to speak into the lives of this next generation, to encourage them, to motivate them, to inform them, not just about what it is to be on television and what Dwayne Wayne and Whitley and Jaleesa was doing, but what they can do with their lives if they focus on their power. It's not just entertainment, it is power. And couple what we have to offer with economic information. We want to take a financial person with us, an IT person with us, to say this is how your money works in society. This is how the internet, this is how technology is now your power to be informed, to make a difference, to create and cultivate all these things you say you want to do. And if you can do it emotionally and with your education, and couple that with economic awareness, with technological savvy, we will rule the world. You can change the world. And that's my vision. And that's what I intend to do with what I do and with who I am, is to speak power more than entertainment. If I need to use entertainment to get your attention, I will. But it's about recognizing that all of this information, all of this media, whether it's a pamphlet, whether it's writing on a wooden tablet or etched in stone, or the internet or social media, whatever it is, recognize it as power and stop playing with it. Stop just playing with it. It's more than just sending pictures and what I had for lunch today. I mean, really, who cares? I don't care. Don't send it to me. I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what you have for lunch, quite frankly. I want to know, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your money? What are you doing with your resources? What are you doing in your schools? What are you doing in your community? What are you doing in your house, under your roof? Stop waiting for somebody else to raise your kids. Talk to your own grandparents. Help them understand their power. They are not just old and useless. My mama runs rings around me on the internet, okay? No, seriously, because my mother decided to go back to school and be taught. And it was a younger person who taught her. And our older people need to recognize you are valuable, you have power, and we need you. This younger generation needs you to talk some sense into their heads, so that it didn't just start with them. Smokey Robinson gave a speech. What award show was that? Was it the original? No, the BET Awards. When he got up on stage and, I said, Smokey, somebody in this room said the wrong thing to you. He let those young people have it. Did any of you watch that? Where he said, this did not begin with you. And some of you really think this begins and ends with you. You are our future, but recognize you can only be a future if there's a history. Okay, so acknowledge and honor your history so that you can go that much further with your future, with our future. Okay, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to preach, but anyway.
So my question is, what's the point? I don't see a point anymore. Beyond having conversations sometimes on these panels, but I'm not even interested in telling great stories on the level that I optimistically hoped for when I was younger and more naive. So I don't say that to be negative. I don't have the answers. I can keep doing what I'm doing. I'm thankful to be to be married to someone who has gainful employment. That's real talk. I'm an artist. It's how do you make a living if you refuse to do crack? It's hard, and I don't encourage people to do it. I'm sorry, I'm not the person encouraging young people to go into media. I'm like, if you go into it, just know what you're getting into. And this is something where talent doesn't matter. It's not a meritocracy. It's not about the most talented people rise to the top. It's not. It really isn't. You have to know this. I know this. So it's not about talent. So then what is it about? It's a profit-driven industry. All that matters is the bottom line. Sometimes we see positive stories that make money,
but that's few and far between. The things that sell tend to be negative, and that is the world that we're living in. And all I can suggest that we do differently is to turn it off.
Thank you, Christine. What I will say is be encouraged. and to all of you, really be encouraged. We know that change is not going to come from within the industry. It's going to come from external forces, and it's all coming together, and that is the premise upon which Impact Media was founded. We are small, we're a startup, we're just getting, but there's a lot of good work going on, and there's a lot of influence, and people are coming together around this to, one, advocate for and demonstrate, making the business case that there is a market there. But then also, we have to do real work in our homes, in our schools, in our churches. We have to do real work there to create the appetite for the positive content, to really engage our networks, our spheres of influence. Folks who have platforms have to really make the case. And what I will say, there's no accident that we're here today. We were initially supposed to be at USC today, and this is my home church. Wouldn't you know it, Bishop Ulmer has been on a series around how to pass on a generational blessing. And he, a couple weeks ago, moved into teaching about the 7 mountains and how we have, wherever we wherever we work, we have to use that as our platform for our ministry. He started off in business. He moved into the cultural arts. Last Sunday was cultural arts, media, and entertainment. Tomorrow, he will be talking to people in the media and entertainment industry about how to use your platform, working in media and entertainment, for the kingdom of God. So I encourage you to come out, tomorrow. We need more pastors like Reverend Murray, Bishop Ulmer, and others, Reverend Jackson, to use these platforms to inform, educate, and inspire our congregations, our members, to be more involved. And so on that note, what I'd like to ask the panel is, how can we, and what advice do you have about, let me just back up a little bit. The church, as we know, and has been mentioned earlier today, was a critical place, and church leaders, ministers, etc., led the movement. We're not necessarily seeing that type of leadership that's bringing us together. How can the church and the external community, other sectors, support using media and entertainment for change, as well as building the kingdom of God? So whoever would like to chime in on that.
Come on, Reverend.
Wow. Okay, I would flip that question. Because you're here in the room, we can only assume that this is something that is on your heart and something that you have already decided that needs to be done. That's why you're here today. But beyond that question of saying, okay, we want to see something different, I would ask you, what are you willing to do that is different? Because we can sit here and espouse all kinds of suggestions and all kinds of things like that, but I think nothing will be any different, whether it begins in the church, whether it begins in the schools. It can only begin if someone is actually willing to take up the role of a follower, of a lamb, and allow themselves to be led. I believe we do have some amazing leaders. I believe we do have some amazing examples in our churches, in our schools, in business. Some of them are right here in this room right now, and they don't have to be here, but they are here because that's just who they are. We have representation from corporate America, Mr. George Gibbs in UPS. We have representation here from the media. We have representation here from our ministry. We have representation from our civil leaders. Mr. Nolan Rollins, who I know is on a panel later, is the CEO of the Los Angeles Urban League, and all they deal with is money and economics and black empowerment in the business sector. It's not that we're not here. We are here, but we need to know that if we're out there fighting a good fight and wanting to lead and being willing to lead and sacrificing all that needs to be sacrificed in order to lead, these people are here away from their families on a weekend. They are here. So it's not as though there's not people there willing to do the work. There are teachers who will stay after school with your children. There are people in medicine who work incredible hours away from the people who they love, who expect things of them. We have mothers and fathers who offer their time. But are we as a society willing to lead? We want to see different things in the media, but again, what are you willing to turn off and insist comes on instead of this? How many of you want your children to behave better, but how many of you step away from your own phones of tweeting and texting and Instagramming in order to actually have a conversation with your child? We want them to be better, but are we doing any better in order for them to see, okay, well, this is what it looks like? And I'm getting one message in school, I'm being told to just say no and do all of these things, but then when I come home, they're not having that same conversation, they're not experiencing that same example. So the question I have is, yes, we can get it from our churches. The pastors are saying it from the pulpit. You know, all of these corporations have all of these empowerment and internship programs, but what are we willing to do in order to make use of them, in order to make their fight worthwhile, in order to make all of the effort that we're willing to expend pay off? What are you willing to turn off? Where are you willing, because your money is your power. Information is power and your money is the ultimate power. What movies do you go see the first weekend? What movies do you wait to come out on cable? What movies do you wait to go cop a copy at Blockbuster? And you know what I mean when I say Blockbuster. I'm serious. When we were buying DVDs, what DVDs were you buying and what DVDs were you stealing and copying and all of that? When you go to see a concert, do you sit and watch the concert or do you sit there and film it? I don't understand that. You just paid good money to watch somebody perform live and you sit there behind the whole concert like this. Personally, I don't, what are you gonna do with that? Honestly, you only have but so much memory, first of all, on your phone. And secondly, be in the moment. Get the information. Really embody the experience. You can't really be living life if you're tweeting life.
Come on.
Do you know what I'm saying? There are people don't even know how to have a conversation anymore. People sit next to each other and tweet what the world? Don't get me started again. But anyway,
Yes, amen. Just go ahead and say it. Yeah, thank you for that. This is so much. I'm so full. I want to tell you to please stay encouraged as well. Okay, you also are in a position of power right now. And I just want to say amen to everybody. What you talked about in terms of what we're putting our money into and what we're listening to and what we're paying for, all of that really is critical. And I've had producers say to me, well, the people are buying it, this is what they want. People are buying cigarettes and cocaine and, heroin and all kind of other things that is not necessarily of benefit to them and to their lives. So just because people are putting money into it does not make it socially responsible. It does not make it what our community needs. And we do have to be a little bit uncomfortable. We have to put ourselves in a position where, okay, it may be a little extra effort on my part to go and look up that positive Black film that is not getting broadcast, marketing, and advertising the same way that all of these other major feature films are. We have to, what happened to like the underground music, when we used to go and seek out artists who are doing something and not just listening to what's being put on the radio station. Our kids don't know anything about that. We have to go back and do that again, and we have to teach them. One of the things with our program that we train our teens to do is look at what are the intrapersonal, interpersonal, and institutional changes I can make. And some of the things that my students said in terms of intrapersonal, what can I do within myself? I will change the station when misogyny comes on.
I refused to stay on the dance floor during this song. You know that song that is beep, 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 beep? You know what the rest of the word is, you know. And people are up there dancing to this song. I'm going to get off of the dance floor. I'm going to tell the DJ to play something different. This is something that I have the power to do in this moment. I will let people know how I feel when something that is misogynistic, objectifying, degrading comes on. Express how we feel. No, that's not cute. Don't just laugh and giggle and, you know, nay or whatever to it. You want to be able to understand that you have power where you are. And then begin to create and tell our stories. Since we have the camera phones and we have all of the social media, use it. Understand how we can take these tools and create our stories. And a big part of what we try to do is to help our youth understand their value and putting those stories into the media, putting them in, helping them to produce their own media. And then on an institutional level, what petition have you signed? What letter have you written? We had students from Chicago, St. Louis, Inglewood, who called up the radio stations, who wrote letters to Clear Channel and said what they wanted to hear and what they wanted promoted on the radio and on the stations. Take action. So these are some of the things that we want to look at. How can I make change on those levels? Intrapersonal, interpersonal, and institutional to get us started. And understand that we do have to change the station. We have to become uncomfortable and make that change.
Just a quick personal, something that happened in my sister's household. This was about 6 years ago. She loved Tyra Banks' show, Top Model. My father was visiting, and we went to the Peterson, and I was taking a bunch of pictures. So I took the shots and, you know, went home. My sister started looking at the pictures. My nephew was 3 at the time, and he posed like this. My sister was horrified. She said, "Oh my God, those are the poses that they do on the show." She had not realized that he was watching what she was watching. He was 3 years old. She immediately turned it off, and she watched. She paid attention to what she was watching because she knew even at 3 he was being influenced by what she was watching on television. So that's what we can do in the household. Turn it off, turn the channel, and be aware of what's going on around us as kids.
I just wanted to go back to, like what you're saying, the question of what can we do. I think that we have to be clear about what's driving us. What's our intention? What's our heart's purpose? Why do we do what we do? And what is the end game? I think what's so amazing about going back to Bible days with Paul, he didn't go out to write 3/4 of the Bible. That wasn't his purpose. That wasn't his plan. His plan was, I'm supposed to go out and teach all nations, baptizing. That is my plan. That is my purpose. That's what God wanted me to do. And in that, God used that. We're not thinking about what is the bigger plan, what is the bigger purpose, because it does require sacrifice. We're not honest with it. A lot of us want to do what we want to do because we want to be famous. That's why we're always on TV. That's why we're always doing selfies. That's why we're always tweeting. We don't have time for anybody else because we're really thinking about us. And that is how we are with our children. That's how we are with our spouses. That's how we are with our friends. That's how we are with our families. What we need to do is be honest with who we are. What is driving us? What is the reason why we do what we do? Martin Luther King was clear. If I die, if I don't get to the mountaintop, that's okay because I've done what it is God's called me to do. What is God calling you to do? What is driving you? What is the absolute truth that you're standing on that keeps you focused? If you are clear about that, then you will automatically turn it off. You will automatically say, you know what? I want to make a change. If you are truly engaged in the cause, it won't matter what you're going to get from it other than the purpose of what your intention is. So I say that to say, even with me, when I started out and I was doing shows and I was working on these networks, I was like, oh my God, if I'm part of this show and it gets out, what am I going to do? Is God going to be upset? That's my call. People are like, oh, you're in a position of influence. You need to make it happen. And finally, God said, no. When you're in the room, you speak the truth. Whatever happens will happen. But what I need you to do is to be a light. You need to be driven by purpose and plan, and that is to be a light in whatever you do. And so, how are you acting when you're out there? How are you engaging people? Do people even want to listen to you when you tell them to be positive, to put out great programming? What are you doing? What is your example? What is your life? Do people want to work with you? Do people want to listen to you? Who are you? What is driving you? Be honest about that. And that's what we have to do. It starts with you, period. And then that will trickle down to your children and your children's children.
I think there was a discussion about leadership from the pulpit. And I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I attended a AME church. My pastor's name was David E. Mitchum. I don't know if you might have known him, Pastor Murray, but that was a time in my life when we actually had spiritual leadership in the realest sense. I find it a little bit troubling today that pastors who are supposed to be spiritual leaders are synonymous with celebrities, and you can't tell the difference between Puffy or this is my litmus test. Can you email that pastor, and will he email you back? You can email this guy.
Exactly.
He will email you back.
Within 5 minutes.
This is what we have lost
Yes.
in our community. And it has been replaced with celebrities, whether they're in front of the camera or behind the pulpit. We are lost. When you can't tell the difference between Bishop so-and-so and Puff Daddy, we are lost. If Bishop so-and-so is flying in the same jet as Puff Daddy, we are lost. And if we are okay with that as a community, and there are people in the congregation who can't pay their rent, and Pastor so-and-so has this mansion here, there, and a Rolls Royce, we are lost. And we okay that. That's just on my heart, so.
What I will say, and thank you for saying, so not only, and again, there's hope, because Reverend Murray is still with us. And not only is he still with us and still on the trail, he is grooming future leaders, nonprofit leaders, other faith leaders and ministers. So he is training up the next generation. We have leadership here at Faithful Central, as I mentioned earlier, Bishop Ulmer, taking and teaching us how we can minister on the 7 mountains where we are. Pastor George, who is our stewardship minister, just joined us a little while ago. He's on the panel later. So we do have, there is training that's happening and that's taking place to develop and cultivate this next generation of future leaders. And that's why it's a blessing that we are in this place right here, right now. We are pulling people together for this collaboration to move our community forward. And we thank Reverend Murray, we thank Bishop Ulmer and Faithful Central for being leaders, in our communities here, faith leaders in Los Angeles to move this industry forward, because we're here where Hollywood is and we have to hold them accountable. And all of the 7 mountains, we need to come together to work toward that. Dawn, I'll let you say one thing and then we're gonna open it up for questions.
I have how many of you are members here at Faith People? Okay, how many of you are members at Reverend Murray's church? How many of you use UPS? How many of you use Wells Fargo Bank? Okay, I would suggest if you're looking for where your power is, where your opportunity is, look at where you're already spending your time and your money. Find out what those organizations are actually doing. One of the reasons why I mention that is because we have UPS in the room, we have Reverend Murray in the room, and there are things that these organizations are doing that while you're banking, while you're going in and out, while you're paying your tithes, be mindful. I was at an event a month ago at the African American Museum. How many of you have ever even been there? Okay, utilize your community. That's awesome. That's power. I went to an event there where it was Reverend Murray, a couple of other civic leaders, and John Hope Bryant. How many of you know who John Hope Bryant is? Operation Hope. Okay, what they announced during that program was Reverend Murray, Operation Hope, and Wells Fargo do financial empowerment programs and scholarships for young people. Did any of you know that? Okay,
You're banking at Wells Fargo. Find out what Wells Fargo can do for you besides take your money. Find out what UPS can do for you besides ship your package. They have internship programs. They have endowment programs that reach out into your community. One of the reasons why they make it a point to be in your community is because they want to serve your community. And that is more than just taking your money. Be mindful of what they want to offer to you. Be mindful of the power that they want to place in your hands. That's what this media is about. We're here in Hollywood, one of the most powerful centers on the planet because of what we have access to, the information that we have access to, the equipment that we have access to, the relationships, the profile, all of that. Use it as a resource. Go online, learn, push those other tabs besides, checklist banking and free checking accounts. Push those other tabs and see what those organizations that you already support, where you're already spending your money, what they have to offer you. And start to take your power and start to share that power, start to share that information. And I just wanted to say that because I was so impressed with what you yourself are doing. And this is a gentleman, he's 25 years old. Reverend Murray is 2007. Reverend Murray is 2007, and 15 minutes ago, I couldn't catch him around the room. I was trying to get him to say hello. He was in this corner, that corner. Every 5 seconds, he's an alien. He's 2007 and an alien. And he's making this planet work for him. He's figuring out how to pull the pieces together, not just for him, but for those who are entrusted in his care as a minister, as a friend, as a family member, as a person who has a standing in this community. Find out what's already available to you.
Thank you. Ramsey, you want to come up? If you have questions, we're going to take just a couple, and then we're going to move on. We lost a little bit of time this morning, so we're going to be cutting things a little short. But wasn't this amazing? Did you learn something about how you can use your platform for social change and building the kingdom of God? I'm gonna turn it over, and then we'll let the panelists have some final remarks.
Questions, and you want me to have people come up and ask?
Yeah, you can come up to the mic. You got to come up to the mic.
Go
ahead, Reverend James.
Or you can speak it, I'll relay it.
Oh,
You want me to say it, I'll relay it.
I got a strong voice. This country is about winning moments. And the reason I say that, I'm recalling, I think it was 68, when the NCAA would not allow black athletes in most of your southern and midwestern, even northern states in on football scholarships. And USC taking Sam Cunningham, and they went and played University of Alabama. And by the end of the day, that white man with that hat on worldwide TV said, you got to have one to catch one. And it changed the landscape of college football. How do we create winnable moments in order to, because if they don't see the win, they're not going to make a change. How do we create winning moments?
Well, I think that we kind of have started a little bit, the Shonda Rhimes effect. When you look at the success of her shows and who she has casted, these are diverse characters. And the ensemble character, I mean, she has taken it to a whole nother level. And fortunately with Viola Davis, Kerry Washington, these characters are at the front. You know, they're the leads, and we had not seen that in 40 years. I think Diane Carroll was the last leading African-American actress on network television. It took 40 years before Kerry Washington got that role, which is extremely unfortunate. So those moments are beginning to happen. We need more Shondas. I'm in these meetings with these networks and these studios, and she is the only example, you know, that I hear. I'm like, God, there's got to be another Shonda Rhimes out there.
Just actually a story to that. I know the casting person at ABC, who was fighting for it because they wanted Carrie to be a white woman, even though it was based on a black woman. And the casting person at the network studio fought for that. Shonda really wanted it, but without the person on the inside really fighting for it, it happened. But trust and believe, if only 5 people showed up, it would have been another 40 years before it happened. So there's steps to it. It's having people on the inside with that same purpose and intention of knowing what it is that they want to do, pushing for it, being willing to sacrifice for it, and then us supporting it and putting it out there. So it's a ripple effect across, just to answer your question, it takes all of us. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And this said I'll relay if I need to go.
What I wanted to ask is, I'm a content creator, and I know there's a lot of negative things out there, like the MTV and the VH1s and things like that. But have any of you ever considered a channel like Up or Hallmark? I noticed that my mom watches Up a lot, and they have a lot of positive content going through there, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of new movies and TV shows that they're producing. So there's got to be a way that people like myself I'm starting a web series and I'm doing it on YouTube because, now we can do that. We can actually go out and start doing stuff and not having to ask people. But has anybody who's at the gate or behind the gate thought about maybe creating a platform we can bring our stuff? People like us we don't have agents yet. It's hard to get one in this town. I'm just asking.
I would suggest that Ty Green actually answer that question. He's a distributor and is very much aware of all of the platforms and channels, and so I really think we can throw that to him. Do you mind?
Ty, is it Ty? What's your name, sir?
Ty Green.
Ty, talk to us a little bit, please.
Ty Green. We run the Missing Channel Media Group. My partner and I were the only Black-owned television distributors in the United States. We distribute about more than 100 networks on Comcast, Time Warner, Direct, Dish, Verizon. And so we put networks on broadcast TV and shows and whatnot. Answering the YouTube question, yes. YouTube is owned by Google. So when YouTube makes a deal, follow the money here. When YouTube makes a deal with a multi-channel network, an MCN like Full Screen or Maker Studio, YouTube pays them about 55 cents off of every dollar. Then YouTube makes a deal with the content person, which is normally a 60-40 deal. So out of every 10,000 subscribers, not viewers you get on your channel, they only pay you 50 cents to $6. They maintain the majority of that money. And I started at Bruckheimer at Disney years ago. I used to fight and normally be the only person in the room, so I understand. I switched to distribution because people think content is king, but actually distribution is the emperor. If you don't own the toll road, then many people get kicked off, and so that's why I got in the distribution game.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that what you're doing is absolutely the right thing to do. It goes back to what I was saying about what is driving you. If you are really passionate about what it is you do, you will find any outlet to get it done. And YouTube is a perfect example outside of what you're saying. Like if you're trying to find different outlets, like you have the opportunity to make it yourself and to build it yourself and connecting straight with the distributor or putting it out there on your own channel and making it happen. I think that's what it comes down to. Stop waiting for other people to say, go, you can do it, but do it yourself. When we were back in the 50s and 60s, we didn't wait for somebody to say, go out and march for your rights. We stood up and said, you know what? If anybody's gonna do it, we have to do it. It's the same thing now. Don't wait for somebody like me at a network who's having to filter through certain parameters to say yes. Don't wait for me. You have the power, and quite frankly, people like me are looking for people like you to say, oh my God, look at what she's doing. Maybe there's something there that we can pull from. So if you put it out there and let me see it, or let my counterparts see it, and help us envision with you, you're light years ahead.
Thank you, India. And I would like to say, during our social action planning, we are having these conversations of how we can connect with what's already existing. We're doing the gap analysis to find out what's needed so that we can have our own network, so that we can have our own distribution platform, so that we can have our own Google, so that we can have our own cellular platform, because we know digital and the mobile programming is where the future is. So how can we have our own? That's what we're working toward, with this movement. And Ariel is a part of that. So
I'm excited to be a part of that, by the way. First of all, I want to say thank you. I'm really encouraged by everything I hear from all of you. So in my personal experience, I'm a musician and an actress and producer. And what I've noticed in the past couple of years is it seems to me that the public accepts anything. Like, whatever it is you give them, there is no alternative, there's no other options, as you mentioned earlier. The public seems to just take it and say, well, this is what we've got, so, you know, the more it's played, the more marketing dollars behind it, it will become a hit, you know? So, to me, it seems as though the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we make positive cool, or how do we find enough money to put behind it where people will accept it the same way they accept anything they're accepting already? So if you had any suggestions for either, I'd be interested.
Thank you for that question. That's a real good one, especially because we do a lot of work with youth. And how do you make, you know, eat your vegetables, how do you make them taste good? One of the things specifically that we do when we're working with youth in middle school and high school is we don't tell them that we're giving them a lesson, okay? It's very activity-based, it's very interactive-based, and we do things where they can get their own aha moment, because first thing, it's important for them to be aware. Most of what they're consuming right now is normalized to them, so they don't really see what's the problem. I don't understand. And so we'll do an activity where there may be a particular song that we print out the lyrics, and they have to read the lyrics out loud, but they have to insert their mama's name in it. And yeah, that's the reaction we get. Like, really? When you want me to say my mama's name? Oh, wow, wow, wow. That's what we're singing about, okay? And they have this huge aha moment, and my little mini gangster kids, you know, they like, I can't put my mama's name in that, okay? I mean, really, they can't. And so we then get them to think about, okay, you're doing this, and you're listening to this, and you're dancing to this on a regular basis, but you're talking about someone's mother, someone's sister, someone's daughter, someone's woman of honor. And when they begin to have that aha moment for themselves, that's when you have that opportunity to develop a new appetite for something else, okay? We have them then create content from that standpoint. So then when they will come to us, I've had kids say, that's what my mama was talking about. I really have, you know, like, okay, that's why she's always on me about this. But we have them at that moment then start to create new content. And at that point, we know we have them. They're at a point where they're beginning to develop an appetite for something different. And so we're then have to show them, well, where can we find that something different? So that's why I love, where did Kelly go? Okay, that's why I love the work that you're doing in terms of finding a place, or where is our Netflix? You know, where is our series that we have created for ourselves? So we have to begin to create more of that.
Give me one moment. We're going to come back to the panel in just a moment. It's a special month. There are a lot of special birthdays this month. Not only was Impact Media born on August 24th, like myself, Dawn's birthday was the 13th. And she has a birthday celebration, but she made time to be with us here today to participate. So let's say happy birthday to Dawn. Oh yeah, anybody want to sing? She's got to run, so we won't sing right now. But Dawn.
You can give me gifts and money though.
Right. So we do have gifts, and she has an extra special gift. Some of our future programming, we plan to acknowledge those who are really, making a mark, on this industry in the roles that they choose to play on screen, and also how they live their life off screen. And Dawn has been, leading in the industry in that, and we want to acknowledge her, and we want to gift her with the opportunity, because we talked about it earlier today. It's so important that we know where we came from. And through a partnership with AfricanAncestry.com, we
are presenting Dawn with a kit so that she can have her African ancestry taken. And we will reveal, we will have an event where it is revealed where she comes from, and we'll all get to celebrate her and some others that are making impacts in the industry as well. So, yes, happy birthday, and thank you so much for who you are and all you do. And she gets a t-shirt for the Positive Impact Campaign. And if you want a Christian Impact Campaign shirt, they'll take care of you in the back. So, yeah, so you see our volunteers that are wearing them today. And this is our t-shirt for the Positive Impact Campaign. It says, "We can. It starts with us." Does she not live that? The Positive Impact Campaign. Thank you. Enjoy your birthday.
Thank you. I just want to say it was really my honor to be here, and I really apologize for having to leave before it's completely done. That was not my intention at all. But God bless you. God bless you for caring enough. God bless you for honoring yourselves enough and what you have to offer, because as the t-shirt says, it starts with us. I'm honored to be on a panel with each of you. Just amazing, amazing women. God bless you, and thank you. God bless you, Kelly.
And thank you for your continued support.
Don, before you get out of here, but one thing I think that we're actually very serious about is that power of one and getting behind each other and supporting each other. And take just 30 seconds, and we've got a lot of ears here. We've got a lot of ears that aren't here. But tell our ears that are here so we can tell our ears that aren't here how we can support what you are doing. You mentioned that you're going on the road and doing the different world thing. Is there a place we can plug into? Well, where can we find you if people are here and they want to support what you're doing? How can we find you and say, we want to help you out in some capacity?
Okay, my email, and it comes directly to me, is the word talk, T-A-L-K, then the number 2, then the word me, M-E, and the word mail, M-A-I-L, talktomemail@gmail.com. On Twitter, which I have to be honest with you, I'm not really the big social media person except for when announcing projects and things like that. So if you really want to connect with me, email me. But, and as I know the power of the social media, if you hear of something that I'm doing, please support it by tweeting about it, by Instagramming it, by reaching out on Facebook, because the powers that be, they watch that stuff. And it matters to them how many followers you have and all those kinds of things and what kind of social media support that you get. So on Twitter, I am at Dawn, D-A-W-N-N _Lewis, L-E-W-I-S. At Dawn_Lewis. On Facebook, it's the Dawn Lewis official fan page. It took me so long to start a Facebook page. People started about 4 of them without me. So the one that I actually do is the Dawn Lewis official fan page. I have a question, and this is for a couple of people in the room. Just take a poll. If we were to do or come to your city with a Different World cast speaking tour that has several of us from the cast and economic empowerment and technological empowerment on the panel, would that be something you would support? Awesome. So I'm doing what I can to get the financing to make that a reality. So look out for that. If you hear about it, please support it. God bless you, and thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We've got all of the information now, so hopefully move on that.
Website, DawnLewis.com.
Website, DawnLewis.com. DawnLewis.com. Thank you so much, Don. We're going to take the last 2 questions, and then I think we got to rotate in the interest of time. But Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong. We can continue to have these questions coming in, I think, virtually through the website, through the Facebook page. Confirm that that's true?
Absolutely. Because these gentlemen have been here and standing for a while, we definitely want to honor, and it can be a comment, it can be a question, because I believe that the answers are not just up here, the answers are all in the room. And so we're coming together to exchange and to create solutions together. So we want to hear from you. If you don't get your question or comment, or you're not able to share it here verbally today, please, let's use the platforms. Post it on the Positive Impact Campaign page. Tweet it to @the-CPPI. Tweet, tag everyone here, and we'll continue the conversation beyond today in social media.
Hi, my name is Chad Williams. The question was asked earlier, and I'm paraphrasing, what can external influences do to help the industry? And the first thing I would say is that I think we're doing it. As an African American who owns my own studio and trying to create content that is family oriented and family involved, I find it more difficult to get to the networks with that type of, kind of paraphrasing what you said, and I'm sorry, Kenny, I think it is? India, I'm sorry, India said it's very difficult to get that out because that's not what we want to see. But I also say stay positive to the young lady on the end over there because it is the village. No, I say this because, as African Americans in this industry, it's very, very difficult to navigate. So I say you have to be strong, and this village that's right in here is the beginning of what's going to change what we're doing. I saw this brother who had really encouraged me at UCLA giving the commencement speech. I'm sure he remembered it. And it's the encouragement of those in here who have to step up and go out and do. First of all, you got to put your money in it. You have to come in and get involved and do it and stop asking what somebody else is going to give me. You got to be willing to go out and get your own money and put yourself on the line before somebody else will put themselves on the line for you. And I just say that to encourage you to be strong. The young lady who's doing the YouTube, please move forward and keep doing that. It is difficult. Yes, but do that. And then when it comes to, I know we said something, I heard someone mention about the pastors who have the aircraft. I say, I caution you, please don't go on that, out on that, because a lot of money is made outside the church by pastors with books and things, and you don't know what's going on in their personal life. I know sometimes it can look kind of funny because our money is funny and we're trying to figure out how they're making it, but you can't look at what someone else is doing and complain about, well, why do they have it and people are catching the bus? Well, some people choose to catch the bus. And I'm just going to be real. I know people who choose, it's ridiculous, who don't want to go out and make the money, but they want you to give them the money. So I say that to say, stay encouraged, keep pushing, and studios, please be open to us who are really have some really good content.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Christine wants to say something. I want to say, I've told this to Christine privately, but I'm going to say it publicly. Before I moved here and when God was revealing to me to do this, and this is a movement that was started with I've invested all that I have in this, and we've been blessed. It's been multiplied by individuals, people like you, by Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, who I didn't even get to ask for the money yet, and he saw what I was doing, and I got an email saying he wants to support you, and he gave us a grant and said, fill out this paperwork and we're giving you the money from the county. This is why we're here. From UPS, George Gibbs, the first corporate donor that we've had. Noel Massey made a commitment when he saw what was going on today to support us this year through his pot of money at UPS. Byron Reed from Wells Fargo, who's been supportive all along the way from the very beginning since I moved here to LA. So as your gifts will make room for you, God, when you seed into your ministry, others will seed into it as well. So I want to say to Christine publicly, so her shows, I'm divorced, I'm a single mom, and it's important that we see on screen what real black love is like. We have to see black women being honored. We have to see black men for who they are, being strong, loving, caring men, because that is who we are. And Christine's programming does that. Her movie, All About You, All About Us, I was watching these films, and I'm one of the people who turned off the television, who only allows my daughter to watch positive programming. She knows every line on every Cosby show. She's just getting to watch Different World and getting a chance to see that. But she just did 2 projects with TV One. You have to see them. We have to demand that TV One bring them back. The modern day retelling of the story of Job to hell and back. And then also the modern day telling of the story of Ruth, For the Love of Ruth. I want to tell you, and I have no idea how this happened because I had both of them on my DVR, and For the Love of Ruth got erased somehow, mysteriously. After it was shown, and that was around Mother's Day, because I could not find very much that I wanted to see on television. I would watch a certain part toward the end, the love story between
Boaz, but he has a different name in the film, and Ruth. I would watch it because I needed to feed my spirit. What a God-loving man, how he courts a woman and what courtship looks like in the African-American community. And I would go to sleep on this so that I would have a positive image of a loving relationship, at night. And she has no idea the impact that her films has. So please continue to support her and filmmakers and content creators like her so that we can have more of them. And I'm going to let Christine say it.
First of all, let me say, I'm the most positive person in this room. I just cannot cloak truth in false enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Whether it pertains to the entertainment industry, whether it pertains to ministers on the pulpit, that is the calling of my life. It is what it is. Pastor Murray, he can attest to that. I've spoken with him ad nauseum about the very issues that I brought up. I speak the truth. You know better. I don't care what they're telling you. What people should have and shouldn't have. Jesus did not drive a Rolls Royce. If you want to believe that he did and you want your pastor to have a Rolls Royce, well, God bless you. That is not truth. And quit calling lies truth.
Yes.
Enough already. It's ridiculous. All right? It's ridiculous. Lastly. This summer, I had an opportunity to teach a graduate level screenwriting MFA course at the University of Georgia. I put in a lot of work to create a curriculum to teach a bunch of white kids how to write screenplays. I wasn't that bad at it. I did not want to teach. Because I'm like, Lord, those who can do and those who can't teach. And somehow, how did I end up here? But it was very purposeful. Because as I was teaching this summer, I realized there is so much knowledge that I have that I think I need to repurpose and teach to us. So God gave me an opportunity to see that. And God willing, once I get through this teaching assignment, I had an idea, and I'm open to men, but I'm particularly driven to create a platform for Black girls to tell their stories, and I can show them how. So I'm not here as a negative person, but I can't not speak truth, okay? I'm as positive as they come. I have a lot of knowledge to share, and I'm very accessible. I will talk to anyone, anytime, about anything. But let us be mindful of this. We have to be careful not to put the entertainment industry on an altar only reserved for God. There are too many of these summits and panels, and I like that Kelly's doing this because we can speak at it and to it and from a spiritual perspective, but we have lost focus. And we have made this our God. We have put this on the altar and we have worshiped it and made it an idol. I keep stressing to people, I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm a producer. I do that for a living. I don't do it for life. Life comes from this. And to the extent that we keep seeking whatever it is that you're looking for this industry to give you that only God can give you, we are going up the wrong path. Nobody's saying that. But so-and-so, bishop whatever, has a summit and a 5-picture deal. So all of a sudden, God is behind that.
Come on, sister.
That is not truthful. I'm not saying God's not behind it. but God is not necessarily not behind you.
Right.
Favor is not just for the people that you see who shine the brightest. In fact, the Bible teaches the opposite. God uses the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And we are looking at the wise of the world and thinking that's what we should be like. And I argue, stay away from that.
Preach, girl. Come on.
Yes. And be true to the God of the Bible that we know and have been taught.
At our last summit, the Media and Panel Day that was hosted by Faithful Central, we talked about that, and she talked about wanting to teach a course, and we are going to move forward with that and supporting. We know that we have, the network to help create, the audience for it and the format, and that will be incorporated into our social action planning process. So if we can just take some final remarks.
We got one last.
Well, can I just piggyback on that real quick? Because I just wanted to say this real quick. And that's what I was trying to say. You have to be clear about what your intention is. If it's all about fame, then you will sacrifice and do whatever it takes to get that. If it's really about driving the message that God has put in your heart to do, you will do whatever it takes to get that, to make that happen. So you have to be honest with who you are and what you're about, because otherwise you will just be going in a circle and you will never get what it is you really want. So you have to be honest with what it is that is driving you. And she's absolutely, 100% unequivocally right. Absolutely right. You have to be able to understand what this is about and why you do what it is you do. Because if it is about you, it will always be about you, and you will not make the impact that you want to have happen.
I just want to bring up something real quick, but before I start, I just want to encourage everyone on the panel, because what I'm about to say is probably going to be uncomfortable. My mentor is sitting in this chair, and this is one of the things I wrote down, and I remember he said that white evangelicals need an at-risk gospel. He said calling sinners to repentance means also calling societies and structures to repentance, economic, social, and educational, corporate, political, and religious structures. Dr. Murray also said to society, to change one way of necessity must change the other. When I say that, Dr. Murray, I say that to ask the panel a couple of questions that are uncomfortable, because you are right. One of the problems with our church is that we have gotten comfortable. We have become complacent and apathetic with what is out there in the world today. And because it does not accept or upset our tithes and offerings, we allow the world to run rampant. So one of the questions that I have, because I wrote a couple of questions down, is with the panel is, how does our youth on the ghetto grounds, where the rubber meets the road, get knowledge of you and who you are and how your fight is their fight, and how is our fight manifested through you? Number two, we have the one question. Okay. So that is the problem that I see, because I deal with youngsters. So when I ask this question, it is because I understand that on the bottom line, and when the rubber hits the road, not to mention that the kids that you're dealing with is, okay, I got that. But our kids are forced to make decisions that deal with their survival. There can be no good shows for them to be interested in if it does not embrace their culture of hip-hop. Hip-hop has been prostituted to such a point that it is only commercialized as far as gangsterism goes, drugs, and that sort of thing, which is what the video had to deal with. It is also a point of their culture that identifies with what their struggle is. So when that struggle is identified, because I don't see any young people here in that way, when I don't see that type of thing in this type of conference, it kind of makes kids stay away from it, because it doesn't feel that it deals with their reality.
Well, actually, we do have a youth segment, and we had over 20 that were signed up, and I was actually just going to say, if there are any of the young people that signed up 12 and over that want to participate, we have a workshop that's being done through Media Done Responsibly next door,
and this is around the time for that.
So please
if
include
if you
hip-hop.
are here for the youth part, if you can meet over in the corner, and our presenter Lachey will escort you over, and you can begin your part of the summit.
Thank you for that.
And then we'll let Chanel and Robert, if you have something to say to that, and then we're going to have to wrap.
Thank you so much. Yes, I mean, I think a big part of it is education, and you spoke about the element of hip hop and how it has been totally taken over, and it has. In some of our workshops, we do go back and talk about the history of it and the history of our music and the ways in which our stories were told. Like, this was a format for us to tell our own story back when it was underground. And then when, the conglomerates bought out all of, the various record companies, how that shifted and changed, and how Black consumers are not even the main consumers of the gangster hip hop. So that's a huge lesson, and we do that. And I think that's important for them to understand. And Lachey Brown, who's walking over now to lead our workshop, is one of our mentors, has been a mentor and a graduate, and is going to lead, so you can kind of get an idea of some of the type of workshop stuff. I know she's like, why are you pointing me out right now? Just wait. But I think it's critical to connect with their story, going back to helping them create their story and reveal their story, but not only their pain, not only their struggle, but their pure potential. What do you have the power to create in your life? How do you get beyond just looking at what you see in your everyday circumstances? Take the lid off of that ceiling. And what are the characteristics that have been developed within you because of these challenges that you've gone through? What is your value system? And how do we interpret that and then put that on the camera so that we can have these stories of, yes, there's an element of struggle, but then there's that element of transcendence. There's that element of power. There's that element of peace and love. And how do we represent that then? So the story doesn't end with the gangster rap and the shooting and the violence in the street. That's just the beginning, okay? And so let's talk about your point of transcendence and overcoming that. And so that's what we work to do, to get the youth from that place of struggle to their purest power, their light that you talk about. How do they use their light as their ministry and their testimony? And so that's the work that we do. And I have to leave because, like Kelly, I put my own money into this, so I got to go to my other job. But on that note, I want to say too, invest in these programs that are working with youth, and it's not just, another youth program. No, we work with them from middle school, high school, through college. We get them internships, and then on into their career so they can be industry leaders. So you want to invest in those types of programs that are going to follow the path and that are 10, 20 years from now, these are going to be the leaders, and this will be a whole different discussion, okay? We want this to be a different discussion. So thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. Tell people how they can follow you and
Yes.
connect with you.
Please, at Media Done, RESP is Twitter. Also our Facebook, facebook.com/Media Done Responsibly. And then we're at MediaDoneResponsibly.org.
Can you repeat the Twitter?
I will. The Twitter is at MediaDoneRESP. So part of responsibility. Get the other song, RESP. Okay, I won't sing it. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. And then MediaDoneResponsibly.org. You can email me at info@MediaDoneResponsibly.org. Thank you.
And we have a gift for you too, Chanel. You get a T-shirt.
I love gifts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll have real quick closing comments from the panelists if you have anything else that you'd like to share. And then we'll have another vignette of Love Soul D, and then we'll move into our next panel.
Kelly, I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to participate today. This was very informative, and I really enjoyed participating. I just want to exit out with kind of one of the major things that we do at the NAACP Hollywood Bureau. On an annual basis, we actually sit down with the networks and the studios, and we talk about their hiring practices. We look at the numbers, how many actors have they hired for that year? How many writers, how many directors? And we ask those hard questions. Why are the numbers so low? Why are the numbers creeping up slowly? Why is it that you have 100 African Americans on the network, but 70 of those are on reality shows? And you know, the faces that are across from me kind of go, but you know, we are in the room, we are asking those questions. And like I said earlier, there is change, it is moving at a snail's pace, but it is happening, and we will remain in that room, and we will continue to ask those questions and push that needle forward and help change the narrative. So again, thank you. Oh, and for contacting me, personally, it's Glossy Robin, Glossy ROBIN, that's Twitter and Facebook. For the Hollywood Bureau, it's NH Bureau, that's our Twitter, and NAACPImageAwards.net is our website. NAACP Image Award, no S, is Facebook and Twitter. And NH Bureau for Facebook as well. Everybody got that? No, that was a lot. NAACP Hollywood Bureau and NAACP Image Awards.
It was Glossy Robin what?
That's my Twitter and Facebook, Glossy Robin.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for coming and being a part of this amazing event. And thank you, Kelly, so much for the invite. Really honored to be here. Honestly, finally, I just want to encourage everybody out here to really think about what it is God's called you to do and what's driving you. I keep saying that because we don't really take stock of our heart and our heart's intention. And I just don't want you to go in circles wondering why aren't things breaking, because it's what you measure that by. And like I said, I always go back to Paul. Paul didn't measure it by how many people he touched. He just did what God told him to do. And many years later, we have 3/4 of the Bible written. Like, you just have to know, you know what? This is my call. This is what God's taught me to do. These are the rules by which I live by. This is the light that I want to shine. And I want to use all my gifts, all my passion, all of the things that God has given me to give glory to him and bless others. That is your purpose. So whatever that looks like, that is what you do, because I guarantee you, when you die and you have to have an account for what it is you did, you don't want to hear, I don't know you. You don't want to hear, but wait, I gave you this to do and that to do, but you were so busy trying to be on TV or measure yourself by somebody else because they've got 1 million followers and you only had 20. What was driving you? Was it you to be famous? Or was it because you wanted to glorify me and what I gave you? What is driving you? And be honest with that, and then make a change to really point it to where it needs to be, and that's towards him.
Ditto all of that. I would encourage everyone who has a story to tell, cultivate your craft. We live in LA, so sometimes we have more access, but doesn't mean you'll have more success. And I say that truthfully, not negatively, but we have a lot of resources now, more so than ever. We have a lot of outlets, we have a lot of channels, so if that is your gifting and calling, do that. But I can tell you, beyond that platform, we walk as salt and light. Just be kind to your neighbor. You'll be a star in God's eyes. Go for it. Thank you. Ramsey, you're doing a great job too. Yes, let's give Ramsey a round of applause. Sorry.
Okay, let's honestly take a minute and thank our panelists again for comments, their time, energy. Enjoyed all of that. I think we're gonna change the set here real quick, and maybe what we'll also do, take a 2-minute break. I think people need to use the restroom, and I can sense that right now. Patricia, maybe while people are sitting, maybe just 2 minutes. So before we before we start, we're going to have another scene from our cast. But before that, let's allow Patricia to talk to us a little bit about your company and what you do and how we can continue to support you, and then we'll have a chance to get another taste of what you guys are doing on large scale. So, please, Patricia, talk to us.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you guys feeling? All right, wasn't that awesome, that first panel? Man, very informative. Well, again, my name is Patricia Cuffey Jones, and I'm the writer, director, producer of Love So Deep. Love So Deep is a piece that we put up the end of last year, and then with the help of Kenny Lattimore, we brought it back earlier this year. And it is a play that spans from the 1950s to 2015. We flash back and forth. We see Ella when she is older, and she's having her flashback about the love and toil she went through with these two gentlemen. We have another one of our cast members, Clint Lewis is here, who also was a part of our original cast, and who is also a friend of Impact Media. Yes, a partner. And I just want to give a shout out to Kelly, Scott, and Nathaniel, who are our actors, and they're doing amazing jobs and have big things, and hopefully they'll have a chance to share that with you. And also Deborah, who is my production assistant, my assistant in everything, and my sister in Christ, and also an amazingly talented actress that's helping with this production, so just wanted to shout her out. And my husband, who also is here. My husband Jeff and I, we have been co-executive producing my projects out here for probably the past 10 years. They mentioned putting up your own money. I did that when I got out here. I didn't wait for anybody's anything, because I knew that God had a purpose for me, and there were stories that I needed to tell. So I do encourage those who have that to do that, but also to do it with excellence. Because once we get in that door, we have to have the projects to present, and it has to be on point. It has to be sharp. So we need to hone our craft. We need to sharpen our craft. We need to make sure that we're bringing our very best, because we may be the thing that helps someone determine if they're going to let the next one come in. So I just think that's important for all of us to have. But I would love for you guys to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, P. Cuffey Jones. And I am doing a lot of different things, continuing to do my own thing. I'm going to be doing some web series and also producing my own film. So I would love some support in that area. And if you follow me, I'll be doing posted things asking for help, whether it's with funds or just assistance, or even looking for talent and help behind the scenes. So I hope that you enjoy this next installment of our piece, and please make sure that you continue to support us. And I also have a project on Netflix now, Netflix and Amazon, called Love the One You're With. My husband always has my back. He always has my back. So I would love for you guys to go and check that out and to like it. And if you do like it well, because that helps me get more out there. So thank you, and thank you, Kelly, for giving us this platform. And this is another scene from Love So Deep. This is a few years later with Miss Ellen A. Watson, and this is in the 1960s, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hey, babe.
Hey, baby, I need to talk to you about something.
Babe, look, I'm hungry and I'm tired, and I only got a little bit of time for I to get back down to the
Fine,
shop.
I'll fix you some dinner.
It's got your panties in a twist.
I just want to talk to
Now,
you.
Ella, look, I know, all right? Now, I'm too hungry and too tired to go to any protests or rallies or meetings, so black folk gonna have to fend for themselves now. I want a quiet evening with my woman.
Hollis, I want to go down south for a week.
What's wrong? You got some kids sick?
No, but the Corps is helping
The
us
Corps?
out.
Ain't that group that's working with the Freedom Riders?
Yes, but I'm just going to help
No.
register people. Hollis,
No.
You're not even giving me a chance to...
You done did your little freedom walk in Detroit. You spend all your time volunteering with the NAACP, volunteering with the Women's League. You even got yourself a teaching job. Now you want me to let you go down south and what, get killed? Also that freedom can reign and it be justice for all?
I'll be fine.
They done killed them girls in that church bomb. They murdered Evans right in front of his own home, but you thinking you invincible. You know, I just don't get you, Ellen. You want justice for all, but you can't even keep your own house in order.
What are you talking about?
When we getting married?
Listen.
No, if you change your mind about being with me, let me know, because I can always
You
go
can what?
find some.
You can find you somebody else? Well, what's stopping you, Hollis? Go ahead, please, get married. Because I have better things to do that are more important than warming your bedside at night.
Oh, no, you don't go push me off like yesterday's news, Ella.
You want to talk about news? Have you read the papers lately? We are getting beat up and beat down here in Philadelphia just like they are in Alabama and Mississippi. You don't think that what I'm doing is important?
Yes, I do. But you ain't got to be the only one that's got to do it. You going down ain't gonna change nothing nowhere. I get it. You thinking your little march done did something. All because this Reverend King got a dream. Yeah, well, somebody need to wake you and him up. Now, I'm a brother Malcolm. What we need to do is remain separate, have our own. Take what we want by force. These crackers don't want to do nothing but break up our families, bring down our communities,
It's a
destroy a
lot
little
of
bit
folk
of
thinking
peace.
just like you, Hollis, and what are they doing, huh? Looting and burning in our communities, leaving our neighborhoods desolate and impoverished.
I can't with you with the big words. I can't.
Hollis, they're doing it all in the name of justice. We don't need the man's help destroying our communities. We do a good enough job of that ourselves.
Ain't nothing gonna change, Ella. As long as we're black, we're a threat. As long as I'm a man, I'm a threat. And as long as you keep teaching, you gonna be a threat.
Well,
So
good,
that's
Hollis, good! I want to be a threat. I look at them babies' faces every day as I hand them torn textbooks in a school with broken windows in the dead of winter. And then I tell them, go out, do something, be something. This is more than just about our rights. I am fighting for their future.
Well, at least I got you talking about kids. No, you know what? You go on and do what you gotta do. Ain't like you gonna listen to me no how. You'd argue with the wall and win, you so stubborn.
Hollis, I want your blessing, not your resentment.
You go on and do what you gotta do. You come back to me, you hear? Don't you go making a fool out of me. Because you got my heart. You got my heart. Hey, Ella. What's he doing here?
He's helping me with my shoe drive.
Who you eyeballing, boy? Huh? I said, who you eyeballing, boy? Me or my lady? Now, I know you can't be eyeballing my lady, because this here's mine. And if I catch you around what's mine, we gonna tussle. You understand what I'm saying?
Clemens, give us a minute.
Yeah, I'll just go back to the basement.
I want him gone, Ella. Now, I know he got a little crush on you. I don't want him around here no more.
He's my friend. He's harmless. I've been watching for his grandmother for years.
Harm is exactly what's gonna come to him if I catch him around here. Now, you just tell him he can get his washing done somewhere else. You quit.
You know, I never really knew my daddy, Hollis, but I'm pretty certain he ain't you.
I'm putting my foot down this time, Ella. I ain't fooling around with you. Now I want him gone.
Fine. I'll talk to him and I'll meet you down at the diner, okay?
right, everything is packed and ready to go. You need anything else?
No, thank you. Listen, I want to apologize
No.
for Hollis.
No. You shouldn't be apologizing for a grown man. Besides, his words ain't doing no harm. I don't see why you entertain him.
Clarence, sit down. Please. Clarence, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come around here anymore. I'll be going down south for a little while.
Where are you
and I
going?
think it's going down south to help register people to vote. You know that President Kennedy has given us that grant we can do more.
Dangerous.
God's on my side. I know this is what I'm supposed to do.
Good. Then I'm going with you. You can't go down there alone. I'd feel better if I was there too.
If you're there, then what? The Klan won't lynch me? They won't beat us or burn our bus? Clarence, I can't let you go.
Why not?
Hollis won't like it.
What's this got to do with him?
We've been seeing each other.
Is it serious?
Maybe.
So
I
that's
don't
what you
know.
deserve, huh? Someone who'd rather let you go out there and risk your
No,
life?
that is where you're wrong. He don't want me to go either.
That's what he tells you. But you're going, aren't you? And he's letting you. Well, I don't care if you're his one or not. I'm going with you, and that's final.
Lord of mercy, everybody wants to be my daddy today. I said you're not going, and that's final. You know, I just don't get you sometimes,
No,
Clarence.
Ella, you don't.
Why you gotta be like this? Be so sweet and righteous. Now, I appreciate you, I do, but I gotta do this without you. Don't you get that? And you can't keep coming around here trying to help me and save me like I'm some wounded creature. You know, I just need a little bit of space. I need some room to hear one single thought in my own head.
So that's what you want, huh? You want space? From me? You got it. Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
That was wonderful. You guys got me sitting here one more, so that's always a good sign when you want some more. Let's give them all a hand again. Thank you so much for that. Love Soul Deep, the cast. We're going to, I think, set this back up for a panel. Our next panelists can start to ease their way up here. I'm going to share just a couple of quick remarks, but if you're on the finance panel, you can kind of start to make your way on up here to the side, and I'll stand ready to introduce you in just a minute. Kelly wanted me to share just a couple of quick, very high-level updates on some of the things that have been going on behind the scenes for those of you who may be learning more about Impact Media and the work that's been happening in addition to today. So I just want to share a couple of updates on the things that are already going on and that are in place. So bear with me while I do that, and by the time I'm done, we'll be ready to introduce our next panel. Specifically, already in place is a cross-sector coalition led by Kelly, and his partner obviously is Impact Media. And on that coalition team, people remember the great, well, you shouldn't remember, he's still here, obviously, an actor, Bill Duke. The actor, producer, director, Bill Duke is a member of that. Carl Gilliard is a member of that. Ted Milner from Executive Temps. Crystal Mitchell of Recycling Back Dollars. Robin Harrison, who we just heard from the Hollywood Bureau of the NAACP, is also a part of that. Nolan Rollins, the CEO of the Urban League, is a part of that team. Thomasina Lawrence, thank you. Kinnick Sky, Julian Turner of CEA, Sheila Booker, and many others with support of Bradford Murray are a part of that team. And that team has already met several times and has outlined really 7 major areas that we're going to be focused on. And I want to just tell you what they are. You can learn more about these later today and on the website. But let me just tell you the 7 areas that we are focusing on. Number 1, licensing, distribution networks, channels, and programming and content. Number 2, media, entertainment, technology, investment funds, and cross-sector resource pools. Number 3, cross-sector advocacy to existing power structures. Number 4, expanding our network to engage industry guilds, content creators, and promoting accountability and social responsibility. Number 5, focusing on building and supporting wealth within the African American community, and we underscore that also meaning ownership. Number 6, job placement, workforce development, education, skill development, and training. And number 7, creating a resource guide for internal use and community outreach to promote existing positive content and effective programming is all already underway. So anybody that's here and is interested, I know that we hopefully collected your information when you came in. If we did not, please make sure you leave that before you leave. Number 2, in the order of housekeeping, this is actually very important to make sure that this is not our last summit, but the first of many summits. There's a feedback form. It is very important that everybody that's here complete that, not just so we get better, but that's also how we're able to go to our sponsors and supporters to encourage them to continue to be part of what we're doing. So we need that feedback. Also, the people who support us need that feedback. So please, your 2 to-dos today are 1, make sure that you leave your contact information for us, and 2, please complete that feedback form so we can make sure that we're able to let people know who supported us how the event went today. So if you can do that for us, we would be very, very grateful. With that, and to keep us on time, I want to introduce the panelists for our next panel, the Financing Your Dreams panel. I'll tell you about the panel, but let me get the panelists up here first because that's who you need to hear from more than me. Michael Swanson. Michael Swanson, come on up, sir. Michael is an Emmy Award-winning producer, TV studio executive, and co-founder of Faith Filmworks production company. He currently oversees production operations for several TV shows, including NBC's Park and Recreation and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He recently executive produced the 2015 movies To Hell and Back and Story of Joe. He joins his co-founder and wife, Christine, at Faith Filmworks and is creating positive, uplifting projects featuring African Americans. Michael, thank you for joining us this afternoon. George Gibbs, Mr. Gibbs, been patient, been with us all morning. Thank you, sir. Mr. Gibbs is the Community Affairs Manager for UPS West Coast Region. Over the span of his great 3-decade career, he has worked in several southwestern states until recently being relocated to the Pacific region, which has since expanded to be the entire West Coast region. And in keeping up with impacting the community, he oversees the region's $20 million annual United Way employee giving campaign. Mr. Gibbs, thank you for joining us. Nolan Rollins. Mr. Rollins, I know he's here. There he is, CEO of the Los Angeles Urban League. Mr. Rollins is viewed as a strong transformational visionary leader and builder. And on behalf of the Reverend Cecil Chip Murray, who had a conflict and needed to depart, but we are thankful that Reverend Jackson is here representing the Cecil Murray Institute. Reverend Jackson, thank you for joining us on the panel this afternoon. With that, these are our panelists for Financing Your Dreams. Let's give them the same attention we gave our earlier ones, and I think Kelly will take us through and navigate this panel with us. But this is Financing Your Dreams with our expert panelists this afternoon.
Financing Your Dreams, show me the money. How many of you have a dream but don't know how to get started, don't know where the resources are to fund and support your dreams? Well, I've been there. And I'm introducing you to my support network, my support team, who has helped me to seed into my program, my project, my ministry, my nonprofit to move forward. So we have representatives. Michael's representing the entertainment industry. He's been inside the industry working, with the networks, as well as an independent content creator, so he can speak from that perspective. Reverend Jackson works with Reverend Murray, who trains nonprofit leaders, faith-based leaders, on how to find resources to support, the nonprofit programs and ministries, using the Logic model, which we're learning a lot about at the Faith Leaders Institute. Some of my cohort members are here, because the game has changed. You're no longer able to just get money based on relationships. You have to demonstrate your outcomes and your impact. And that's what they're teaching at this Reverend Murray Center, and has a lot of wisdom to share about how to do that. George, on the corporate philanthropy side, he also
has a book, so he's also in the industry as well, that's going to be coming out. I don't know if I let the cat out of the bag, if I was supposed to, but a book about fatherhood, and is also a faith leader as well, so has a lot to share.
When someone puts their all into something, you know, that's worth supporting. And so that's why I'm here today, because she's put her all into it, and this is the least that I could do to support her, is to be here and to share just a little bit about what we do. So to the question of, you know, what our organization does to support, you know, businesses, media projects, you know, UPS, we're a logistics company. Media is not necessarily our thing, okay, to be quite frank. We didn't do our first commercial until 1984, and we've been in existence since 1907. So our drivers were our advertisement, okay? So that's really not necessarily our thing. But one of the things that I will say is this, and it was brought up when our sisters were up here. They talked about different organizations that, and Dawn mentioned it, different organizations that were represented here. She talked about Wells Fargo, she talked about Operation Hope, and she mentioned us and some others. Well, Operation Hope, Urban League, many other major national nonprofit organizations, they get to do what they do because of what we do. You know, Urban League is one of our longest diversity partners that UPS has had. We've been in partnership with the Urban League for over 40 years. And we've gotten executives from the Urban League. When we got them as interns, and they've grown to be presidents within our organization. She mentioned Operation Hope. You know, Operation Hope is one of our grantees. You know, we have major national diversity grantees that receive grants from the UPS Foundation annually. And I will tell you, and you probably don't know, but I will tell you that on the philanthropic side, UPS probably grants close to $100, $110 million a year. So, and it's in sectors, but just from the diversity side, which mostly impacts us, you know, you're probably looking at close to $30 million a year in UPS grants to these major national organizations. So our work is largely behind the scene. You know, you're rarely going to see us out there, you know, advertising and taunting and flaunting what we do. Again, we didn't do our first commercial until 1984. So our founder, which in fact yesterday was our Founders Day, 108 years old, or young, whichever way you want to look at it. But our founder, he believed in humility, and that has carried the company to where it is today. And you know, currently we're probably somewhere around $60 billion a year in revenue. I think we have close to $100 million or $100 billion, you know, capex. So, you know, but we do it behind the scene. Okay, most of what UPS does is behind the scene, helping organizations like Urban League, like UNCF, like Operation Hope, you know, like Impact Media and others to do what they do. You know, we're experts at one thing, they're experts at something else. And so we partner to help them do what they do best. Thank you.
Thank you, George. So some of the areas that UPS funds, they do a lot of work with volunteers and organizations that where volunteers outreach is a huge part of it. And last year, George supported, and during our anniversary weekend, which we're celebrating this weekend, is our Positive Impact campaign and our Positive Impact Days of Service. So again, this is not just, you know, coming to hear panels, learn, connect, fellowship, but there is a call to action that when you leave here today, we're asking that you go into the community, our community, do a random act of kindness. You know, share the information that you learned,
do something positive and to make a difference in someone else's life. That we have to have that happen in our community. When you hear about random acts of kindness, they generally don't happen in our community, but we have to do that amongst, ourselves. So volunteerism, youth programs, and education, they support. So those are some of the types of things. And diversity-related programs. So we're grateful for their partnership. We're grateful for their philanthropy in our communities. Reverend Jackson, did you want to?
Welcome, and I'm not Cecil Murray, but I am a byproduct of the Cecil Murray model. And I went into the program in 2007. The initial program was called the Passing the Mantle program. And Dr. Murray, USC, Mark Whitlock, they went out and selected about 40 of us to go into the initial program. At that time, I was at the end of a 25-year career in the legal. I started out with Pacific Life. I was one of the first blacks to sit on the Pacific Life board. Also was with PIMCO, Pacific Investment Management Company. And during that process, I watched how their organizations were structured and the importance that they had on branding. And when I left, I formed an organization called Village Solutions Foundation, because I had in my head that I wanted to be able to take this unique skill that I had attained by working in the high levels of corporate America, because as I looked through the law industry that I was a part of, in 25 years of corporate high-level law, I worked with one black lawyer. I was with Brobeck, Flager, and Harrison after I left PIMCO, which was a .com industry company. I went from there to Morrison & Forster, went from there to O'Melveny & Myers, and retired at O'Melveny & Myers. And in the process, I said, I want to be able to take this skill that I have and then go out and engage my people into the technical side of it, to be able to go out and then make an impact with the gift that God has given you. And in the process of that, met Dr. Murray, had a relationship with Mark, and they brought me into the program. And we completed the first phase of the program, and then I started investing in my dream, myself. I started getting up in the mornings, and I would go from Irvine to USC, and I would be there at that office like I worked there. And I did that for almost a year and a half, and I had to not listen to the naysayers that was telling me that I was wasting my time. And I'm talking about some close people to me that was telling me I was wasting my time running up to USC, running behind Mark Whitlock and running behind Cecil Murray, and they getting all the money, and why are you wasting your time with this? And I just kept plugging in there and absorbing the information, and then looking at the mission scripture that we had for our organization. My wife and I formed it. I taken Mark 4:20. It says, a seed planted in good soil shall grow, some 10-fold, some 60-fold, some 100-fold, and then I had to prepare myself for the fold. Because if you're only at a 1-fold capacity, why are you trying to chase 100-fold? Just take care of the soil. Because the seed is good. The word of God is the seed. That's good. But the soil has to have some responsibility and attention tied to it. You got to till that soil. So that means I had to go and I had to put some rubber to the road. And I went back and forth at USC as a 50-plus-year-old intern, getting no money at all, but making that investment. And then one morning, when we were in the conference room, and the director, Don Miller, who's the director of the Center for Religion and Civic Culture, and Dr. Murray were sitting next to each other. And he looked at me and he said, Reverend Jackson, do you work here? I said, no, sir. He looked over at the other program. He said, Bree, let's do something about that. And they gave me my first contract with USC. And then it went from that one to another one, to another one, to another one, to another one, and then they started giving me more and more responsibilities, and I got better and better at the information that I was being able to absorb, getting better and better at the information to be able to deliver it, got better at building the brand, got better at representing USC, got better at representing Dr. Murray, got better at representing the center. And about a month ago, they poured me into the office and said, okay, Reverend Jackson, we're going to make you a contributing fellow to USC. And then they put my name and my face on the website, and I sent it to all my family. But I'm on the website with Rhodes Scholars, and I'm on the website with Nobel laureates, and I'm on the website with PhDs, but it's all because of planting that seed into the soil and then being, what the old black folks say, humble. I'm still trying to find out. You have to be humble because the game has changed. What you got to be able to build your brand. You've got to be able to speak it out. Doc taught us the 2-minute rule. If you can't explain your program in 2 minutes, it's a wrap. You got to know it. You got to know your data. It's got to go beyond the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is great, but it's not an author of confusion. So, I mean, you got to know your information. You've got to dig into the data. You've got to be able to write clearly. Right now, most of your grants, if you send a grant application to UPS, if there's a typo, it's gone in the trash. Your information could be great, but if you have a typo, that means you can't do this by yourself. And that's one of the things our organization does. We really sit down at the center and with our organizations, and we help that organization build a capacity to go out and do what thus saith the Lord. Says, a seed planted in good soil will grow. You just got to put some time in it.
Thank you. Nolan, why don't you share a little bit about what's going on at the Urban League and how folks can tap into the resources and the services that you have there?
Kelly, let me just first thank you for your leadership. We are all here because of one person's vision. And I think it's important for us to be clear about what financing your dream looks like, because it's really about your ability to communicate your dream in a way that's monetized. So, and folks who are here who work with me, they know I have 2 kinds of conversations. I have emotional conversations or transactional conversations. I'm only having transactional conversations today, because I think it's critically important that we understand that a dream has to be able to be sold to someone other than the person looking in the mirror. So what you've got to do is you've got to understand what the network of opportunity looks like. UPS supports the Urban League. At the end of the day, the Urban League understands what UPS is looking for. We understand the human capital needs that they have. Their very first black driver came through the Urban League. So these things aren't by happenstance, they are actually by design. So the question becomes, what is it that you're doing that's by design that's going to take your idea, your dream from the mirror in front of you to it making sense to someone else who can support what you're doing? What Kelly is actually doing is she is showing you what her network of support looks like. I think that's critical. We should not lose what's happening right here. What she is saying to you is, these are the people that I call. These are the institutions that I'm connected with. And the reason that it makes sense, let me be really clear, and I always say this, when we're having conversations about business, I want to be able to sit down at the table with someone who has an interest. It's difficult for me to sit down at a table having a business conversation with someone who appears to be 100% altruistic. If you are coming to the table to have a business conversation with me, there's something you want. And if we are sitting at this table, there's something that I want from you. Which means that if we are in alignment, if we can do business together, then we can actually go into a partnership, which is 50-50. Be really clear about that. A partnership is 50-50. Anything else is parasitic. 49, it's parasitic, anything else. So you have got to be able to bring to the table that which is important to those that you're sitting across from. Our organization is one that has been around in LA about 94 years, around the nation over 100 years. But what we've realized is that our brand is worth something to the larger marketplace. But what we've been really good at is transitioning pain into opportunity. transitioning what happens in communities into something that is going to make sense for corporations, into something that's going to make sense for the government, but it's going to, because it's going to change the perception of what's happening. Their investment is going to make a difference. So an organization like ours has got to be at the forefront of this economic conversation, period. And we have to be unapologetic about how we talk about what we believe civil rights actually is. If we are not having an economic conversation, I don't believe that we're having a real conversation about civil rights. If we are not talking about getting people job opportunities, if we are not talking about businesses getting access to capital, we're not having an intellectually honest conversation about civil rights. So for us, being focused on human capital development, making sure that we understand what industries need, making sure that we understand where the training is coming from, and making sure that we're a clearinghouse that helps one get to the other, because business is not in the business of looking for employees. They're in the business to do business. The people who are doing the training and developing are in the business of training and developing. Who is creating this connecting piece that helps one transition and translate to the other, that has credibility with both? I would just simply say to you, that's why the Urban League was started. So it's human capital development, human capital connection to those who are in need, business development to those who are actually in need, not just in startup, but also looking for capital. I would just simply say that I think the better we are at connecting the dots, one, our relationship network, but two, our relationship network as it exists in a bigger marketplace. We are having an intellectual conversation about what civil rights looks like right now. Anyone who thinks that we're having anything less is missing it. Absolutely missing it. So for me, understanding what your dream impact is going to have on the people around you is a critical component. So an organization like ours, we are committed to this. It's ironic that I'm sitting next to George. George and I have now known each other for about 15 years, but it's through the Urban League. We both started as young professionals in the Urban League, and someone decided to give us real power to do some things. Whoever thought that would happen? But it's the network. It's the absolute network. So when I moved to LA, I already have a brother in LA. Not someone who I just met, but someone who understands who I am, I understand who he is and what we do together. So then we can start having these larger conversations about how you actually change a system that is headed in one direction. How you actually have a system have different conversations, because we represent both a threat and an opportunity at the same time, a threat and an opportunity. So I just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to begin this conversation, but be very clear that my conversation now will be devoid of emotion. It is only going to be X's and O's about how we actually make an economic difference in our community, because that's what it expects.
We have a lot of content creators in the room. If you could speak from that perspective, how do you finance your dreams? You finance some independent projects, and now you're on the other side as well. If you can, give them some tips.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kelly, for having me, and thank you for what you're doing in our community. So yes, there are a lot of content creators here, and like you, like many of you perhaps, it's hard asking other folks for money for a movie, for a webisode, for a TV idea that you have, a pilot that you want to shoot. And so what I've learned is, or what has worked for me over the years, is you have to have a really good project, something that you believe in, something that you're passionate about, because I know that passion can be contagious. Sometimes people aren't investing in your project per se, they're investing in you as a young filmmaker, as a young independent producer, as a young entrepreneur. And that happened to me. When I first, we were raising money for short films, but my first feature film was just a whole nother big undertaking. We needed millions of dollars. This is way back when we were shooting 35mm film still, and it took longer to shoot before HD. So we needed a lot of money to produce this film, and I was able to raise the money based on the passion, based on the track record, but I would say most importantly based on the script that Christine Swanson wrote. It was a great script. It was a script that attracted a lot of actors, and also as an independent producer or a filmmaker, you have to be creative. You know, sometimes people come to me and say, you know, I have this script and we need $10 million or we need $15 million. And I just kind of laugh, and that's a lot of money. You know, you don't need $15 million to make a movie. I can make 20 movies with $15 million. And when you come to a potential investor with that big number, he or she knows that you may not really know what you're talking about, you know? Now, in the Hollywood world, yeah, $15 million is not a lot of money. A studio, it's difficult for a studio to make a movie for $15 million, you know, because they have all this overhead and they have to take it through the machine and they're too big. But for an independent filmmaker, that's a lot of money. So you want to be realistic, you know, so that at least you can get from first base to second base with that audience, that captive investment group or high net worth individual, or, you know, you can do crowd. There was no crowdfunding when I was starting out. So there's so many options and resources available to aspiring filmmakers or those who have been in the game for a while, those who perhaps worked inside the system. Even Spike Lee is now, who is established, is now, you know, doing independent projects. So, you know, don't get caught up in you need this amount of money and you need this person, no. You really, you know, just be realistic about what your needs are. And another tip that I learned over the years, and it made it easier for me to ask folks for money, is don't say no for that person. Sometimes we'll talk ourselves out of trying to get, you know, trying to reach out to someone because someone says, oh no, they're gonna say no, or you never know. You know, let them say no for themselves. And they may just say yes, so don't count that person out. Even with the actors, you know, I got so many folks in Morgan Freeman was in one of my feature films. I didn't pay him anything to be in the film. Now, I could have talked myself out saying, well, the studio says that, you know, they pay him $15, $20 million a film, or I could have said he only does studio films, he's not gonna do this independent film, or, you know, his agents aren't gonna allow him to be in a black film. Yeah, I could have gone on and on and on, but I had the courage to not say no for Morgan Freeman, and he exceeded my expectations. You know, he was in our film in a cameo role. He didn't charge us, and I found out he was learning how to play golf at the time, so I bought him some private golf lessons in Memphis. He's based in Mississippi, but in Memphis with this PGA you know, golf instructor is one of the best, and he was so flattered and honored that I would do that for him. And then it went on and on and on with some of the things that he provided for my production. We went up in one of his airplanes and we got footage of the Mississippi River and downtown Clarksdale. This is for the movie All About Us, if you're familiar with that film. And the city of Clarksdale rolled out the red carpet for us, and it saved us so much money. We didn't have to pay for location fees. But if I would have said no for Morgan Freeman, and I would have never sent him the letter with the request, none of that would happen. So, so believe in yourself, have the passion, have a great project that you can be proud of and stand behind, and go for it, and you might get a yes.
Thank you, Michael. You know, it's really, I appreciate you sharing that perspective. One of the organizations, it's actually a ministry, this work. When I saw, the first movie I saw was Fireproof. And when I saw that film, I was like, wow, it would be amazing if we could tell our stories of love and victory and triumph in Christ, you know, as a people. And then I found out, I posted about it on Facebook, found out about Facing the Giants. Then I found out about Flywheel. And they started their very first film with a budget of $10,000. And this was a church. They started a filmmaking ministry in a church with $10,000, using the talent within the church to create these films that speak about ethics and morals and values and ministry that I believe change hearts, change souls, win souls for Christ, as well as motivate us to do better and live out our calling. It did it for me. After I saw all those films,
I called my pastor. I said, okay, I've been hearing about this ministerial training program. What do I need to do? I know God wants more from me. And I enrolled, and this is where this vision came from. So we have to use the resources that are available to us and not allow, like Michael said, that dollar figure to do it. And in this day and age, we certainly can do it. I do want to give a plug for them. The creators, the Kendrick brothers who started that ministry, they have a film this weekend, and we need to go and support the War Room. They're actually, and talk about how God works. Not only we're here at Faithful Central, where we're going to be talking about, Bishop's going to be preaching about media and entertainment and how to use your ministry in that arena. We have the War Room featuring an African American family. Now, they used to feature primarily Caucasian families, and there'd be a cameo here or there for a few black people, but now the primary characters, it's a black family of victory and triumph in prayer. And, going to the room, and we actually, when we were planning this conference initially, we were going to have a war room about social media and really getting our message out. So it's just amazing how it works. So go support War Room. I'm going to let Pastor George talk a little bit about financing your personal dreams, how to get your house in order, how to get your personal finances in order so that you can live and maintain yourself first and foremost within your home, house and household, and then how you can, achieve some of your personal financial dreams, whether it's owning a home or, going back to school, sending your kids to college, whatever that looks like. We want him to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to bring up AJ so she can tell you a little bit about what's going on and the resources available at Wells Fargo. And then we're going to open it up so that you can talk and ask them. I've got tons of questions I can ask them, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about, what questions you have of them so that you can get your dreams and visions realized through the resources that are here in the room.
Thank you, Kelly, for inviting me. And also, on behalf of Faithful Central, I want to welcome all of you here if you've not been here before. And on behalf of Bishop, we just want to thank you for coming. Can you give yourselves a hand just for coming and getting involved? And one other thing that's just awesome is I was listening to everyone talk about what they do and how they do it. Do you know what you guys were listening to up here? You were listening to resources. You know what word just came to me the whole time that they were talking? And then this word will help you become successful financially. The word is called leverage. Can everyone say leverage? Leverage is using something else, another resource, in order to get to your dreams. Let me give you an example. Does anybody here have $500,000 to put down just to buy a house? Probably not. So then what you do is you go to the bank and you get what? Leverage. For some of you, put down what? 5%, 10%. So you have to use certain resources to help you get to the next level. Can you just hold up 3 fingers? In stewardship in life, you have 3 areas that you have stewardship over, that you have leverage with. The first is time. There are 86,000 seconds in a day. It's like a bank, there's no refunds. You have to learn how to manage that. The second is talent. If you look at your thumb, everyone in here is unique. I'm a twin, and I have twin sons, but they have different fingerprints. So do you. You are uniquely made by God. And then how many of you here are actors? When you actually get hired to do something, they're hiring your essence, not your picture. That's why you don't have to try to look different or do something different. The third area is treasure. Time, talent, treasure. How well you manage what you've been blessed with. You heard person after person say that if you want to get something and be successful, you're going to start putting up your own money. But how well you leverage and manage your time, your talent, and your treasure will dictate how well you'll do things. He said he volunteered for 1.5 years, and then they said they should hire you. Do you know how many people at our church have volunteered, and then now they worked? Because that's Jack Lights, he runs our lights. We came and he won Volunteer of the Year. When Bishop gave him an award, he came and stepped off. I said, "You don't work here?" I always talked to him like he did. One quick Urban League story, and then we'll move on. I was going to do a church one, but I was president of the Urban League Young Professionals. You were president of Baltimore. They started a program called Know Your Money. And it was a nationwide thing that we were beginning to teach. We were so tired of all the beer companies and alcohol companies always giving us sponsorship. So we wanted to go after bigger sponsors. But what did we do to leverage? We got money from them to teach financial seminars around the country. And how did we leverage and keep the money? We went to banks and the banks let them use their locations, and we started teaching financial series all over the country to empower people to be more financially successful. In other words, there are so many resources that are available to you today that would help you be successful. You just want to make sure you use them. At the end, we teach over 100 classes here a year to teach you how to be successful that are all practical, from debt to credit. We even teach something called how-tos. We teach you how to do something. One of the most popular classes we did last year was how to get your child into acting, to show you like how to get resources to help you be more successful. We want to make sure that you do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor George. I've only been a member at Faithful Central for a little over a year. Jada and I joined June 1st. Jada absolutely loves the teen ministry here, the takeover ministry, and it's just amazing how this church has been a blessing to our family. One thing that I thought was really unique when I was visiting here is that Pastor George leads a segment called Job Check. You tell them a little bit about Job Check.
Well, first of all, it's put on our heart that we don't wait for the economy to change. We change the economy. Because you understand that it doesn't matter what the economy's doing. If you ain't got a job, then what? It's going bad. But if you got a job, then what? Everything's cool. If you got it, then we got it, right? So we started counting jobs. And we believe that in Malachi, it says that God will pour open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you don't have room enough to keep. So we said, do you have a blessing that you don't have room enough to keep? So we want to start praying for jobs. We pray all week. And then every week, you actually stand and we count you during Job Check. You know what's so interesting is that when I traveled, I was speaking with the Urban League last year, the national conference, and I said that we had over 882 jobs. And there was someone that went out and had a job search company. He said that we can't even hit those numbers. I said, but God can. Yes. And then he goes, that's not true. I said, oh yeah, come to our church, 7, 9:30, and 11:45. You can see it in person. Only thing that's a little bit tough about it now is wherever I go, people get all surprised. I went into, sorry to do a plug for Yogurtland. I had my twins with me in my hand. And you guys seen Coming to America? I walk in and this woman stands up, oh my God, this is my job, this is my job. And my kids step back. I said, hey, you can just get back behind the counter and just bring it up so you don't lose your job. But just let you know, we're at 1,058 new jobs and businesses. Because we encourage businesses, we teach businesses how to grow. We teach the 4 tenets of business, that these 4 areas you have to work on. The first area, that if you want to run a very successful business, if you have these 4 things, your business will be incredibly successful. If you're missing, if you have 3 of them, you'll do pretty good. If you have 2 of them, you won't do very good. You'll be a well-kept secret. The first is you have to have a marketing plan. That plan of how you market, same way that you would brand yourself. The second is your operations have to be on point. Right, Mr. Gibbs? Meaning that how you do logistics and how you do what you do has to be on point. Number 3 is new products and services. Always come out with something new. If you're a producer, you're doing something, you have to come out with something new all the time. Fortunately or unfortunately, see McDonald's do that and how Apple does that. And the 4th is you have to have money metrics. You should have a dashboard of how you're doing. In other words, like you have to have appointments, you have to have this. If you're an actor, how many auditions are you going on? How many of this are you doing? How much revenue are you doing? You have to learn how to track what it takes for you to be successful. So we teach all that, and we really advocate people getting jobs. But whatever we can do to get you to the next level, we do that.
Thank you, Pastor George. As AJ walks up and takes that mic over there, I also want to share some information. My former church, West Angeles Church of God, has a community development corporation. And they're doing amazing work at the West Angeles CDC. I just started consulting with them over the summer, so I got to stand up for Job Check, praise the Lord, a few months ago. And West Angeles CDC has educational programs for home ownership, small business, and they actually help you find money and resources to, own your home, to start your small business, and others. There's a new program I want to tell you about, and you can call into just look them up and just call in. You can ask for Nokomis or just ask for the IDA program. There is an opportunity for you to take your money and save some of your money, and they will match it.
I'm sorry, what? The what?
Match it, the IDA program, individual development account, and it's for college scholarships, it's also for small businesses, and then it's also for home ownership. So they will match dollar for dollar. You can get up to $4,000 to
seed and pour into your dreams, whether it's in owning your own home, going back to school, and or starting or supporting your small business. So again, tap into the resources that are available to us. And there are churches who are really taking the lead to do that, and we celebrate them. And so that's at West Angeles CDC, the IDA program. You can just call them and ask about that and their homeownership programs.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is AJ Whitman. I am with Wells Fargo. I work as a trust officer in an investment and fiduciary services group, but I also sit as the chair of their Black African American Connection, which is a team member network that Wells Fargo has, because Wells Fargo is big on diversity. And so almost every group you can think of is represented, even my generations, which has to do with dealing with everyone from baby boomers to millennials. But I sat as the chair for the Black African American Connection, as well as the vice chair for the Women's Team Member Network. A lot of what I do outside of sitting at my desk every day and looking at those wonderful trust and estate documents, I do a lot with hands-on banking, which is Wells Fargo's financial program, as far as teaching people how to budget, teaching people how to become entrepreneurs. It's online, it's available to the public. But we do also go out into the communities, particularly in April, and I believe it's October. In April, we go a lot into the schools, from elementary to high school. We teach kids about budgeting, and we teach them about credit. So those are ways that you can learn how to better manage your money. Because I know a lot of you here are sitting here that want to finance your dreams and all of that, but you need to know how to manage your money in order to do that. So that's a great way to start. We also, if you have your own business and you have the type of business that Wells Fargo can use you, we do offer supplier diversity. All you have to do is log on to our website and look up supplier diversity and submit your materials, and we'll see, if we can use your business, your services or goods. What else does Wells Fargo? Home ownership. Pretty much if you walk into any branch, there tends to be a mortgage representative there. And if you think about it, once you own your home, that's also a great way to finance your dreams as well, once you build equity in that particular home. I know a few of my friends who are in the entertainment industry, that's one way that they make things happen for themselves.
Corporate philanthropy.
Corporate philanthropy. Wells Fargo does have a foundation. It's called the Wells Fargo Foundation. We offer sponsorships as well as grants for nonprofits. You must be a 501c3 in order to obtain those funds from the Wells Fargo Foundation. And that's also on our website. You can even just Google it and it'll come up as Wells Fargo Foundation, and then it will give you the steps on how to apply. I will tell you this, do not wait, let's see.
It's too late.
It's too late now.
Too late this year. Start working on 2016.
They are already pretty much at the beginning of the year, probably up until about April or so, they go through and review these applications, but at least 8 weeks out. Get your stuff in 8 weeks out from your event. Right now, since we are in, what is this, September, August? Almost September.
September by the time it turns on.
Exactly. So pretty much, but I mean, there may be a few sponsorship dollars, but we do a lot in the community. You'll probably see us a lot at different events. I know we're really big. We support Kelly. We support the NAACP. And right now, next month, coming up, we're doing our community support campaign where many of us will be out in the community as well as raising funds for our nonprofits that we do a lot of work in. But Wells Fargo is really big into helping and sponsorship. It's just that you have to have your stuff together when you submit. So, anything else?
That should do it. Thank you so
right.
much. Let's give
Thank
AJ a big hand at Wells Fargo. I believe I've heard Jonathan Weedman of the Wells Fargo Foundation tout that Wells Fargo is the largest funder and donor and corporate philanthropist in the state of California, and they are definitely a leader throughout the country and worldwide. So tap into the resources that are available. As Pastor George said, use that leverage to to do the work that you're called to do. Reverend Jackson partners with Wells Fargo in the Faith Leaders Institute. There's the Financial Literacy Institute that Wells Fargo funds, and I'm a graduate of that program as well. So Reverend Jackson's going to talk a little bit about that and how you can learn and enroll in that program.
Just real quick, we have a partnership with Wells Fargo with their literacy program where we train and teach the hands-on banking program on how to engage the hands-on banking Wells Fargo tool into your ministry. And it's a 4-week program. Then we bring in the various Wells Fargo representatives in all of the core areas. And then at the end of that 4-week process, Wells Fargo issues out a grant to the graduates. They issue out up to 15 individual graduates a grant. And then part of my responsibility is to go out and help you engage the program into your ministry. We've built up a PowerPoint presentation from a faith-based perspective, financial literacy. We take the scripture, Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you. First set of the plan, get out of debt. Get out of debt. That's a dream killer. And then the next step, get yourself into a collaborative group, because that's one of the requirements of the funding is you must collaborate with someone in order to get your first Wells Fargo grant. And you must show them how this partnership is going to work. It's a hands up, hands down relationship. You can't, in the black community, we've got to stop coming always like this. Like, think about it at home. How many blessings you get at home if you married, if you always come in palms up? Sometimes you got to, sometimes mama just wants, sometimes fix her dinner if it ain't nothing but a hot dog and pork and beans. I guarantee you're going to get a blessing. And it's the same thing with your banking and your corporate relationships. Show them how you're going to go out and assist them with their service and their obligation. If I'm your partner, it's easier for me to approve your grant if I know you and you got some equity in it. If you're just coming in dry, I throw you into the pool. Where if you come in and we're partners, now when you submit your grant, now I've got a relationship with you, and even though the fund may be closed for everybody else, favor is not fair. We have, matter of fact, Steve Johnson. He comes in and teaches one of the courses in our Wells Fargo program group. So we do the program. We have a spring course, which just completed, and we have a course coming up in November. And then it will be distributed out on Kelly's website and through the network. But we take 40 people into the class. It's a competitive process. It's an application process. And if you are accepted, you complete the Wells Fargo program, then you have an opportunity to get first shot at coming into the full Faith Leadership Institute program, which is a full-fledged program that when you graduate out of that program, you're a full-fledged alumni of USC, and you get access to the USC network.
On that note, we have some of my cohort members here. If you could just please stand. I see Thomasina, Sheila, I thought I saw Alvin, but just want to acknowledge them for being a part of the program and supporting. It's been an incredible network going through both programs, and I highly, highly, highly recommend them. So at this time, Ramsey, you want to come up and we can have a few questions, and then we'll conclude the program with another final vignette. I know you're waiting to see how everything ends with Miss Ella, and then we will fellowship in the next room. We have some food and some refreshments there. We can fellowship a little while, but we do have to leave the premises by 2:30. So we'll turn it over to Ramsey for a few questions so you can get your questions answered, and we'll go from there. So you can just come on up along the side if you have any questions.
Come on up.
Is that?
Hi, thank you all for taking the time to come out here today. I am currently a grad student, and I'm in the arts. And my question is, I love what you said about how she is showing us this network that she has built. And as a college student, and I go to art school, there's not a lot of business majors around and other students that I could connect with to build my support team. but I would love to hear your advice as to how can I tap into different resources and come to people like you with the knowledge and experience and wisdom, so that way I can continue and start to build my team now before, and so I can start planning in the preparation.
I think a great person to answer that question would be Nolan.
That's how you know I've known this guy forever. So let me just say this. So when you think about what you do, think about what you need 20 years from now, right? Create that vision, because what you really need are the people who are around you. There are a lot of people who are around you who may be business majors, or they're content creators, or they're interested in distribution. There's a team effect that winds up happening. I mean, the Googles and the Microsofts, they happen because of a group of people who are similarly situated, but differently focused. So for me, when you are taking those opportunities to look around, because someone who's around you in the school that you're in needs you. But there's also someone who needs to be the person that brings that all together. Because what I can ultimately tell you is that if you create this ecosystem that doesn't exist right now with people needing one another, and then you take that same ecosystem to the marketplace and say, here's what we have everything that you need and things that you weren't even thinking about that you needed that are going to solve a problem that you have. I mean, that's where the opportunity is. Because often we think that in order to get what we want, we've got to ask someone for it. I think in order to get what you want, you've got to show someone what they're missing. And what I would just say to you is, you've got a bunch of resources around you, a bunch of people who are in school with you, who are doing things that would make your work better, and things that you're doing that would make their work better, and things that you do collectively that makes an impact on people like us who are outside of the space. So look around, then look out, and then look beyond that.
But connect with them now and urban young professionals.
Oh yeah, that's another one. I'll just simply say this: there's an Urban League Young Professionals organization, and I can fundamentally say to you that without that, George and I would not be sitting here right now. It was a training ground for us. It was a leadership development. It was connecting us with people who, frankly, forced us to up our game, because we wanted to walk in having them be clear that we understood what we were talking about, and quite frankly, that we were going to seed into the future real leadership. So surrounding yourself by people who are going to challenge you, even when it's uncomfortable, surrounding yourself by these institutional opportunities that are going to give you the kind of cover that you need while you're developing into the man that you're ultimately supposed to be, it's critically important. It's critically important. But I'll just say this also. The other thing that's critically important is having young folks in these organizations. Let me just say this right now. I am with an institution now that's over 100 years old nationally. The way that I think about it is that we're 3 years old. Because in order for us to be 100 years old going forward, we've got to be able to be something to the people who exist today. Not just something to the people whose shoulders we stand on. That's our relevant history. What we've got to talk about now is our relevant future. So how do we make sure that we're creating the space? But looking around you is critically important. Critically important.
Thank you so much for being here today. I mean, I'm shocked that the room is not packed because of the mountains that are sitting here speaking to us. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Kelly, and thank you, everyone. So my name is Bamba John Bamba. I'm an actor turned filmmaker. And one funny note, I actually got a grant from the Urban League to go to acting school in New York when I was in high school in 2001. So I think that was the only scholarship I got. I applied to so many, but Urban League hooked me up. So thank you so much, my brother. So my question is, I'm working on a film, and it's my first feature film. I've shot some webisodes and short films. I won an award. It's called Papa, and it's about an African kid that moves to the South Bronx and turns gangster, and how his father is able to help him out of that situation. So the budget is around $1 million, and I got some serious investors. almost 75% of the money, and I'm looking for more. So my question, not only to you, sir, I think your name's Michael, right? Not only to you, sir, Michael, but also to the other business leaders and nonprofit organizations. How can, can I leverage my movie to get money from a UPS, Wells Fargo, and also from nonprofit organizations with, it's under an umbrella of my production company, which is called Ivostar Pictures.
A couple of thoughts. I don't know all the particulars, but one thing you can do is, as we've all said up here, investing in yourself, you can take the leverage from the 75% that you've already raised and go get a loan for the other 25%. You can do some crowdfunding for the 25%. You can do some pre-sales, maybe in other territories, some pre-sales to raise that gap. You can have some of your actors, some of your cast, I don't know who you're thinking about, but if they're big enough actors where they're getting a lot of the 75%, maybe more than they should, then perhaps they can cut their rate some. So you may not need that additional 25%. Take the 75% and maybe readjust your money, your budget, make the film with what you have.
And I'd like to follow up and say, there are corporations, but there are foundations that will support filmmaking projects, content-related projects. So part of it is kind of doing the homework to find out who supports what. So UPS and Wells Fargo will not necessarily support a filmmaking project. Wells Fargo does support some things in the arts and culture aspect, but I would like to connect with you afterwards, because part of what we're doing with our social action planning process is doing the gap analysis, doing the research to find out where those resources are so that we can support each other in doing positive projects that affect our community and knowing where to go to do that. So engage with Impact Media and our support network, and that's what we're here to do, is to help connect you with some resources. And
Wells Fargo does have a film financing division. I think it's under our other company name, Wells Fargo Capital.
Wells Fargo Capital has a film financing division. Okay, that's good to know. I did not know that. So Wells Fargo Film Financing under Wells Fargo Capital. So research Wells Fargo Capital. In the interest of time, I'm going to have each panelist give some closing remarks, and then we're going to set the stage for the final vignette for Love So Deep, and then we're going to move our conversation one-on-one in the fellowship into enjoy the refreshments and enjoy each other a little bit longer before we have to leave. Lorette is continuing to circulate the evaluation. She's picking up the evaluations. Lorette, I know you wanted to say a few words. You want to? Lorette is the treasurer of the board. And let me just take this moment. Can we give a round of applause to our amazing volunteers, our board, our two representatives from the board that are here today, Lorette Clash and Martine King, who's in the back. I'm so grateful. As they said, your gift will make room for you. And if you just continue to do what you believe God is calling you to do, support will come, resources will come. Just stay faithful, stay the course. So that's my closing comment, since I have to be brief. But continue to engage with us. And Lorette's going to say something, and we'll let the panel, we'll give them their gifts, and we'll continue to fellowship next door.
This has been amazing, and I know we all appreciate all that we have learned and will continue to learn. I'm going to be brief. In your seat, there was an opportunity for you to seed into Impact. As mentioned, we have been covered for today, but we want to seed into that next event. So that way we're not carrying anything over. So this is the time, if you can look on your seat and take this time to fill out and be a blessing to Impact, because I know you have learned something and you'll take that away with you. So fill that out, and when you are done, you can raise it up, and we will have someone come by with the buckets and pick them up. Thank you so much.
And
because of the time, we don't necessarily need, you can just hand your envelopes to everyone as you're at the registration table. So, Michael, why don't you give us some closing remarks?
So, you know, what works for me, what I personally do is when I think about a project or who I'm going to approach to help finance a project or an idea or venture is to, you know, I pray about it. I'm very prayerful. I'll take time. Sometimes I'll go to have like a weekend mountain retreat, fast and pray and read and listen to music and just spend time listening to God and praying for wisdom and discernment. And I find that equips me to go after certain sources that I may not have thought about before. Sometimes, you know, all money is not good money, and you don't want to be in business with just anyone, so you have to pray for discernment and wisdom. And don't be so quick to just, oh, I needed this money, so okay, that person showed up. You know, you have to make sure that you're supposed to be in partnership with, you know, whoever kind of comes across your path. So, you know, so pray for discernment and wisdom. And I don't know, stay at it. You're going to get a lot of no's. I think that's just natural, but don't get discouraged by it. Just kind of keep going after it, and you'll get there. And you should make that movie for $750,000. That's a ton of money. You know, I think you can do it for $750,000. So, but thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. God bless you guys.
In closing, before I start any project after prayer, I always go to Luke and I read it real well. Jesus said, count the cost. A lot of times we jump out there with our passion. As the brother here said, you've got to think strategically. You want to stick to the plan, but you don't want to get stuck in the plan. You must count the cost. What is this idea? What is this dream going to really cost me? What is it going to cost me with my health? Am I healthy enough to go through this process? Do I have the funds to go through this process? Is my credit in enough stability to go through this process? Do I have enough funds in the bank? Do I have enough friends? If I'm like young man here, I always think of myself as a corporation. That means I have to have a good board of directors around. I have to have a good advisory board around me. The young brother here, I have to have a good group of advisors around me because I don't want to get stuck in my own understanding. See, I have to acknowledge him, but I don't want to get stuck in my own understanding. I want to be able to get wise counsel. So count the cost. Sit down and put paper to pencil. Sit down and use that calculator that you have. Go out, find other people that are doing what you want to do, and then have candid conversations with them. Man, what did this cost you? I sat down and talked to Steve Johnson. I sat down and I spoke to Margaret. What did this thing, when you said you're going to be full-time ministry, what did this cost you? I spoke to people that it cost them their marriage. I spoke to people that it cost them their health. I spoke to people that it cost them their house. It cost them their car. It cost them their friendships. Look what Joseph left. What did it cost Joseph when he gave his brothers his dream? You count the cost and then stick to it. Don't get stuck in it.
Let me just say, from a business standpoint and a corporation standpoint, and I deal with so many nonprofits. There's over 100,000 nonprofits in the state of California and 37,000 in Los Angeles alone. And when you deal with so many nonprofit organizations, so many times people come with passion. And I look at this room and every one of you has a dream and is fueled by a passion. However, when you come to a corporation, there's another P that you need before passion, and that's preparation. When you approach corporations or business or government foundations or public foundations or family foundations, they love your passion. Passion will get you so far. Preparation will get you through the door. When you come to our door and you have all the passion, but there's no preparation. And that is evident by the fact that maybe you come to a door that is not aligned with your passion. You know, your passion is arts, and you come to a door to a corporation, and their thing is STEM. They're not interested in the arts, because to them the arts doesn't matter. You know, STEM matters to them. You know, and you're going to waste. Well, you're going to waste time on one hand. On the other hand, you're going to gain a valuable experience. And the valuable experience is you're going to be told no. And no is not a bad thing. Okay? Any salesperson will tell you they're happy to get a no, because no means that yes is coming. Okay? So I would just say, you know, I love the passion, but I want to see the preparation. Because at the end of the day, you know, we have to look at the metrics. As Nolan said, the conversation is not emotional. Okay? The conversation is not emotional. It's about outcomes. It's about results. It's about impacts. So make sure that you do your due diligence, you do your homework, not just on your craft. We expect that. We expect that walking in the door. But do your homework on the people that you're asking for the resources, whether it's government or public or private or corporations. Do your homework on those corporations. What do they support? What do they want? What's in it for them? And can what you bring align with what's in it for them? And when there's an alignment, normally there's a yes. Okay?
I would just quickly say, what you should think about is what is it going to take you to give someone else a yes? Yeah. Like, what are the things that you need to hear before you say yes to someone? And then take it a little bit further. What is it that you would need to hear before you gave someone your most valuable possession? Your name, your brand, your legacy. Think about it in those terms. I mean, you know, for me, it is every opportunity or every connection that you actually make is one that is either going to make or break you in some way, shape, or form. It is either going to strengthen your legacy, or it's going to tarnish your name. So if you think about what is it that I would need in order to give someone a yes to a new concept, a new idea, and then would I turn over my greatest legacy, the name that you have built or the name that you are building for yourself? I mean, those are the kind of ways that we've got to be thinking about when we're talking about financing dreams, when we're talking about financing these ideas. We've got to be thinking about them in ways that there is no tomorrow if we aren't planning for it today. And if you're willing to give it away and give someone else a yes, that's the check sheet that you've got to walk through the door with, because you're trying to convince someone of something that they've never seen before. It is like a unicorn to the person that you're giving it to. But what you've got to convince them is that unicorns have always existed. You've just never had this conversation with me before, and this is how I'm going to show you that unicorns have always existed. So I would just say that we always practice on what makes you say yes, and use that same kind of mindset, because there's no one more discriminating than ourselves when it comes to something that's very personal. And I would just say that every partnership is about that. Make sure that you can come to the table with something that is just irresistible, because you have planned, there's real purpose behind it, you've prepared, and more importantly, you've made it make sense to the person who you're going to be sitting in front of.
That's a lot of good nuggets. That's good. Last thing I just wanted to say before I say this, I pastor stewardship here, but I also run an investment firm. I'm a registered investment advisor. I invest millions of dollars on behalf of people. And if someone said, what is the number one reason why people lose money or are financially unsuccessful, is actually not doing it. Do you know that more people have lost money in the stock market from not investing than from investing? More people have not been successful in business, movie, acting from not doing it than doing it. So one of the things I encourage you guys to do is just start. Back to this point, 750, that's a good number. Just start. You understand? Just get in the habit of starting and finishing and walking through it. And then also the last thing is just being practical. You know, in life, you just have to be practical in life. Just do the work every day. Just the bread and butter, just every day doing it. And then also, I'll be around a little bit afterwards, but but we teach classes here all the time, and we want to make sure that you know when they're happening and that you can come, because one of the things I learned about in athletics that helps you be successful is that you have to work out all the time and do the work and actually enjoy the grind. You actually have to learn to enjoy this grind and going through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor George. I have to actually come back and say, I said I was done, but I do have a call to action that I'd like to share as we close out. There are a few things that we'd like you to engage in. Because again, this isn't just about education, it's about action. So first and foremost, we shared earlier today that we want to go into our community this weekend and think about it every day. How can we be a blessing to someone in our community? And we want to start, right now, today, tomorrow. We're going to do a random act of kindness. We're going to do a positive deed or a positive act in our community. How many of us can make that commitment that we're going to be conscious to see how we can be a blessing to someone else over the next couple of days? Thank you. To those of you who are interested and available to come tomorrow for the message from Bishop Ulmer about media and entertainment, be here tomorrow, 7 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and 11:45 a.m. Today, even, the young professionals of the Urban League, they have a summit going on as well at the Writers Guild. Support them. They're actually digging deeper into the skill development and providing workshops and doing some screenings along. So support them as well. There's another group. This was an interesting and a popular weekend about African Americans in Hollywood making a difference. There's the Blackout Group. They're doing stuff at the Grammy Museum down at LA Live. Support that initiative. Black Lives Matter is connected to that. So we all have to support each other. We have to come together and work collaboratively, together to move this forward. As I mentioned, that's a part of our mission statement. So those are the primary things I wanted to let you know about and make sure that we support. I want to thank you. I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart of helping me realize some of one of the steps in my dream and what I believe God has called me to do. I thank each and every panelist. The entertainment, and we're not done yet, but when the entertainment is done, we will proceed over, into the other room. Our host, Ramsey J., who is just incredible. Thank you so much. Our comedian, Kathy, who's still here, Kathy Westfield, support her. I was also to engage in the social media. Let's stay connected. If you want to be involved and support the coalition and the social action planning, we definitely want to engage you there. But yes, thank you very much. I'm going to let Ramsey say a few closing words. We're partners in this call to action and working together. I'm going to let Ramsey say a few words. I'm going to give the gifts to our speakers. And as those of you who were here earlier, you saw us present a gift to Dawn. Well, the Swansons and Faith Filmworks, they're also going to be honored and receive the award from us for the Positive Impact Campaign and World Changers Campaign. And so we are giving them the gift of, African ancestry as well. And so we don't have the right test for Christine today, but we do have one for Michael that he can take so that he and his children will know where they came from and can trace their ancestry back to the tribe. So, and that's what we have to do. We thank African Ancestry. We thank Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, UPS, Wells Fargo, and all of the partners that are here. These are not just speakers, these are our partners. These are people who are working collaboratively with us, and we're so appreciative. So thank you all. Let's go fellowship after the performance, the amazing performance from Love So Deep. And we're all anxiously waiting, although I know them. So I'm going to give them the gifts. Ramsey's going to say a few words. But guys, if you can stay here, well, you can come to the side and we'll give you. Come over to the left here.
Okay, before we go,
and you can, guys, you can come move the table so we can do this quickly. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I support you in living your dream. If anything I can do to support you, I'm happy to.